What up, Doe One Pride? This is the Roar of the Lions UK podcast, the podcast where One Pride goes worldwide. My name is Anthony Fitzpatrick. I'm joined this evening by Ryan McCluskey, which can only mean one thing. It is time for your weekly dose of college knowledge. Yes, it is the college football podcast. Open forum, no clever title or anything today. We are what we say we are. Today, we are an open forum for you and your questions and anything you may want to talk about because for the first time in nearly 4 years of doing this show, I've not really had time to prep a show for today, so we're just gonna glide with the flow. We've got a few things we're gonna chat about, and then the rest of it is up to you all in the chat. I'll get in on Twitch and YouTube. If you have any questions or topics or anything you want us to discuss today, let us know, and we will go on with that. But first, let's bring Ryan into the building. Ryan, how are you doing? We have just one game left of the college football season now. We're nearly into the draft cycle. Time to go again for our fourth draft.
Yep. As you say, today is the hard deadline for those out not in a playoff game, the underclassmen to declare. So I imagine between now and 8, 9, 10, 11 p.m. we will get the last remaining stragglers of those that are declaring, waiting to get their observations, their grades back from the scouts, whether they'll be returning or not. And yeah, one game left. If you'd have told me this matchup would have been the matchup 4 months ago, I'd have pissed myself laughing. I'd have wet my pants because I'd have just thought, nah,
Yeah,
nah. What have you been smoking? I'd like some of that. But now it's here and I've seen them. Kind of happy with it. Low key.
yeah, absolutely. So, as Ryan mentioned there, today is the last day for players to hard commit to the draft. No soft commits anymore. You've got to make your choice. The choice you make today is the choice you're going to have to stick with. The only exemptions as of now for this are for the two teams playing in the Natty. If you're playing for them, you can leave your decision because obviously, depending on what happens in that, may influence your decision as to whether you're going to come back or not. But Ryan, I just want to quickly start this off with an impossible question, which you will probably not be able to answer. And if you do, kudos to you. But, and this was just something I did earlier, so hang on, I need to get it right here because I need to make sure this thing's set up properly. It's so random, but King Edward VIII, Babe Ruth, and Jesse Owens walk into a bar. Why? There's no trick here. It's. I know it's quite an impossible thing. Any guesses you're gonna hazard, or it has something to do with the one game that's left on the schedule. Got to think about the era. Oh, it's
Nope. At a
all right.
loss.
All right. So King Edward VIII, Babe Ruth, and Jesse Owens walk into a bar. Why? Because they were all historically significant in the last year that Notre Dame beat Ohio State in a game of football, 1936. King Edward VIII gave up, he abdicated the throne of our great country for an American woman. Babe Ruth was the first person to go into the Baseball Hall of Fame. It was the first year that thing was there. And of course, Jesse Owens went to Germany and made Hitler very mad by winning all the gold in the Olympics. But yeah, it is 1936, the last time Notre Dame beat Ohio State, and they're going to get their chance to rectify history, Ryan. They've only played each other 8 times, but 90 odd years in the making, they've not beaten them.
Nope. I like that. Like I say, two teams that, for as long as they've both been prominent programs, have managed to just avoid each other. No, all this time.
Yeah,
Obviously, we've not been in a conference for so long definitely helps that. But yeah, these two teams very similar in a lot of ways, different in others, both trending in the different directions. Like I say, both got fairly young, prominent coaches as well. Like I say, a lot of staff, a lot of people, a lot of staff that are going to want to get poached in recent years. So yeah, this feels like it's been a long time coming for both programs. Like I said, Ohio State, the guys like JT Barrett, Cardale, Jones, Braxton Miller, those recent years, they've had college football playoffs. They've had success, like I said, in the era, and like I said, they've had some great times. But like I say Notre Dame, it feels like it's been barren, doesn't it, for a long time?
Yeah, it's and you could say the 12 team playoffs has saved, like, these two wouldn't have been involved in any form of a 4 team playoff. They wouldn't have even got close, and they'd have done nothing this year, but the 12 team playoff has rejuvenated both teams. We'll talk a little bit about the Natty later, but yeah, thought we'd throw that fun tidbit in there. It's been nearly 90 years since Notre Dame have beaten Ohio State. As I
It's
say, they've
interesting that people are talking about should we downsize the NFL playoffs in the
yeah,
same year? Should we get rid of the seventh seeds because their record is so bad?
yeah,
And like I say,
exactly.
people are
It's
like, actually, like I say, maybe this 12-team playoff thing wasn't a bad thing.
No, I think, maybe it's just the seeding that needs changing, and then it's right. But again, the first year was always going to be a process where you'd have to work some kinks out. So yeah, anyhow, so we'll talk about the Natty a little bit later on. And again, this is open forum today. So if you are listening and you have any questions, you have any topics you want us to discuss, just fire it in the chat there. That we are here at your disposal today. But in the meanwhile, there are a few things that we're going to talk about until we get there. And we've already had some questions sent into us, so we will get round to them at some point. We're going to drop into some news first. And talking about things, Ryan, that might need tweaking or people are not happy with the current setup of currently is the transfer portal in college football. There are a lot of people who are unhappy with the way that it's done. Well, I think it was yesterday, FBS coaches in their annual meeting unanimously approved the idea of a 10-day transfer portal window. So under the proposal, players would have from January the 2nd to January the 12th to enter the transfer portal, thus eliminating both the December and April windows. If approved by the NCAA, the changes could go into effect as soon as the 2025 to 2026 season. Now, the reasoning behind this is obviously it's to help players and coaches better focus on preparation for the bowl games. I mean, we had teams dropping out of bowl games because of roster attrition, which meant teams were really short-handed. Some had to cancel. I know the Independence Bowl lost Marshall because everybody left after Charles Huff went as well. This proposal still needs to go through the committee and the Division One Council. It's likely to face a little bit of pushback, although the expectations are this thing has some legs. It might be able to. And they've also proposed a change to the 2-week recruiting period in December. They want that gone as well. So that's effectively going to make the entire month of December a dead period. And by a dead period, what they mean is coaches are not allowed in-person contact with prospects, parents, family members, anything to do with this process. The changes were only just made this year as well. Obviously, it used to be 45 days worth of portal windows, used to have that was reduced to 30 for this year. Obviously, the 20-day window in December and then the 10-day window in April as well. But, right, obviously, coaches still feel this is not good enough. What are your thoughts on the proposals here to just have one 10-day portal window at the beginning of January when bowl season's over, when it's all out the way, and get rid of the December and April ones? Obviously, the proviso in this is still if your coach leaves, you get a 30-day grace period whenever because that's still there. But what do you make of the idea from go from 30 days to just one 10-day window in January?
Uh, I think I think it should be like a UK football transfer window. It should be like 10 to 15 days in January, and then let's say it reopens again in summer because you get to spring camp, people lose, let's say, a quarterback can be named as a starter, and now, like I said, they'll lose that ability to then transfer mid-school. Like I say, it's going to be interesting because let's say because once you make that commitment, if you get to spring ball, you're kind of trapped, aren't you? So I agree with the December. In the month of December, you should not be able to do anything. Absolutely nothing. Like I said, I'm even not sure. I think 30 days is too long if a head coach leaves. I think realistically, like I say, you should know within the first week of your head coach departing if you don't want to be there. It shouldn't be like shouldn't take you 3 weeks to work out if the head coach is the reason you're there or not. And like I say, all it does is leave the incoming head coach in a pile of shit because it, yeah, I don't like it at all. I get why they have to have it, but I hate it. It can just make some jobs so unattractive
Mm.
if all your players leave, because half of them probably don't even go follow the coach that they're going to. So then I wonder why? Why are you leaving? If you're only going to school and you've been there like say 2, 3 years and you leave just because the head coach, I don't know. It's weird. You can't have only been there for him the whole time. So
Mm.
yeah, find it all. But yeah, nothing in December. I agree. Like I say, a 10-day window in January. That's fine. Just Portal, NIL. It's just all fucked up in it. College message. It's just. I think it's a mess. I hate it. I hate everything this has become.
Yeah, I think so. I'm in agreement with them that you need like a 10 to 12 day window at the start of January. I agree. Get rid of
I
all the
think
December stuff,
it's a good.
have one there. What I think is a good compromise for summer, because I know with April, and we had this last year, we noticed that like stars were getting poached in April from like G5 teams going to Power 5 teams, and obviously that's not fair on teams who have already gone through the spring protocol by then to lose a bunch of players. How about a system where, they, like you say, you get to April, a lot of people, whose job's going to be, if you could then, if a coach like transfer list, like here, you get transfer list of players. If a coach comes out and says, right, you don't really have a future here, you're down the depth chart, I'll put you on this transfer list if you want, and then he can go on it. So that teams don't lose their best players to an April portal, when top teams think, oh, damn, I've not got a star running back, let's go nick someone off somebody in April. I feel like that's a thing where the coach can put them onto a portal to go and be done otherwise. I feel like that would be a good thing. Or exceptional cases for like if you've got to move home for family emergencies. You can have an emergency rule if it's an absolute emergency, but I think like a transfer list where a coach can put a guy on there so he can go and get an opportunity elsewhere would be better. Would you agree with that maybe?
Yeah, because the NCAA can be really mean. Like I say, you can have the worst of the worst happen to you. You could have your parents pass away, and you said, "I need to move back home." Sorry, you can't. We won't submit your claim. We're not going to release you. You can't enter the transfer portal. You will have to. Yeah, the basically you'll have to drop out of school.
Yeah.
I said that's the only way you're going to get out of it. Is basically like, oh, I'm going to have to just have to leave. I said they're going to have to be a certain measures where if you can provide X, Y, Z, yeah, we'll give you the waiver. I think it's time to bring back the if you want to transfer back-to-back seasons and you don't have a good reason, you sit your ass.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
said I'm not. I know it's going to look bad, but I'm not shouting players. But someone like Denver Harris, the five-star corner, it was like Aggie A&M. That's now on his fourth school in 4 years. I'm pretty sure he's going to
Yeah.
his fourth school now, and I'm pretty sure he's not had to sit any year.
No. No.
Why? Because he's not made an impact at any of the schools. He's just like, oh, I'll try my third or my fourth school.
Yeah.
It's exhausting. Like I said.
Yeah.
And team, at what point does the school be like, do you know what? I'm not interested in you.
Yeah. This is why I think that one actual portal for players doing, because then players have to make their mind up, and there's none of this. Oh, I can just do it later, etc. and whatnot. So yeah, I'm with the coaches. I would do 10 days in January, and I would try and have a system, have a week in April where coaches can transfer list their players into a degree so that they can go elsewhere if they're not part of their roster plans going forward because of what's happened in spring. I think that's a
I think the
perfectly
one
pretty
way we
fair.
fix the portal is NIL toughens up. Now imagine if NIL told players, if you transfer within 12 months of us agreeing this contract, you owe me X, Y, Z.
Oh,
Yeah,
you've got to
you
pay it
have to
back
get. Yeah,
on.
you
Yeah,
have to pay something back. All right, so if you go to a school in the same conference, if you transfer to another school in the same conference, a rival, we want X, Y, Z back because yeah, that's it. That's unfair. Yeah, we're giving you this nice shiny Subway commercial. You're in a Subway commercial. Right, so
yeah,
we want that revenue back if you then go join a rival. Right, so because we don't like that. It just seems to me like these kids can literally just go there, get a bit of money or however it works, and they can kind of just run away. And it doesn't feel like they're ever gonna have to pay any of it back.
No, no, it doesn't. Like, yeah, there needs to be far more reaching consequences for NIL, but I guess that is
Yeah.
one for
NIL, it's just
another
it's
day.
just ruined
Yeah,
things. We've gone from guys to being committed to, oh, so and so has signed with Wisconsin. What? What? A kid?
it,
He hasn't signed with anyone. He's a student.
you see, Mark Gronowski's earning seven figures at Iowa, like much more than he'd ever get at the Dakota. So
Yep.
like they're giving and their NIL collector's about 14 million a year, I believe, and they said he's well into seven figures. So yeah, you be you. But yeah, as for the portal, the coaches are pushing through for one 10-day window in January, and that is it, and that's passed its first test. So it's got two more to go. So potentially portal rules changing big time. Moving on, other bits of news, and this is draft news, and there's one player Ryan, who doesn't look like he's going to the draft anymore after declaring. And very quickly, just before I do this, actually, shout out to Brent and Mile Marker, who are in the building. Brent goes, Cannon, Ohio State, and Notre Dame both lose. Yes, this is the nightmare natty, as I've coined it for Michigan fans. Mile Marker's in there as well. As we mentioned today, you guys, this is an open forum. It is if you have any questions, anything you want discussing today, any topics you want discussing, just let us know because I've not really prepped a show today. I've been doing a ton of stuff this week for the pod, so we're a little unprepared today. So you guys can drive the direction of the show. But yeah, back to the news, right? One guy potentially not going to the draft, and he's been a very naughty boy. LSU wide receiver Kyron Lacey is in a spot of bother at the moment. He is in custody with the police on felony charges of negligent homicide and hit and run driving with serious injury or death. He also faces a charge of reckless operation of a vehicle. So what apparently happened here, he got involved in a crash, was recklessly driving. He drove around the crash scene following the accident and then fled without stopping to help or report the crash and his involvement in it. He then, I believe, went out of state, so they couldn't arrest him at the time, and they were having to talk to him through lawyers and stuff like that. But unfortunately, former 78-year-old Marine was killed in the accident. A couple of others were injured as well. He has now turned himself in. And the most unbelievable part of this, Rise, is after this happened, 2 days later, he declared for the NFL draft after killing someone in a crash and not handing himself in for this, which seems absolutely unreal. But potentially one guy who's not going there now, he's in a lot of bother, and you're like, just the stones on him to declare to a draft after something like this is mad.
Yeah. It's Henry Ruggs. That's what Henry Ruggs did, didn't he? Sped, left the scene after an accident, and they passed away, didn't they? This and well, I'd say good road, Kylan, because we saw what happened with Henry. Like you say, he's done a couple of years. I think he's got a couple of years more. Like you say, he's got to be looking at a serious custodial sentence, I imagine.
Yeah, I saw something the other day. Ruggs is due for parole next year, I believe.
Yeah.
It
A
seems
lot of
weird
talk,
that
like I
we're
say, yeah.
already at that.
He's planning to come back, I believe, or he's going to attempt
Yeah,
to come back. Like I say, but yeah,
yeah.
yeah, there's no danger in the draft for Karen Lacey. Like I say, this will have to punish. Like I say, he will have to see this out as whatever direction it takes him in, and yeah, like I say, it's foolish.
Yeah,
And then the
absolutely.
nerve to declare for the draft, knowing what he'd done, knowing that it would catch up with him and it would break out the press. The foolishness that just looked, yeah, big red flags carry concerns. Like I say, even if he's out, like I say, he does a couple of years. No,
Depends on
you
what
won't touch
happens.
him.
Yeah, we don't know what happens yet, but
Yeah,
it's just
yeah.
crazy. Like that.
Even if he doesn't serve time, he declares, "Oh God, no one's going to touch him."
No, but he was projected to be somewhere in the early day two, maybe even late day one category as well. So obviously that's one less person who's going to be up there now. But yeah, that's just terrible story all round. But yeah, we'll see what happens with him. He's in custody now, and we'll see what happens going forward. With Mal Marker being in the building, the one piece of news he probably won't have liked to have seen this week just came to my attention. Miami have snatched Minnesota's defensive coordinator, Corey Heatherman. Obviously, Miami are reloading for next year. They've paid Carson Beck a whole ton of money to go there and be quarterback for them. They've poached the defensive coordinator from an incredibly successful system. You think of all that talent that's come out of Minnesota. I mean, it's a good pickup for the Hurricanes, that is, they've had to go for their new defensive coordinator. Minnesota's been a great system, especially those DBs there. DBs are nasty.
Yep. Because we all know Miami don't play defense.
No,
We saw that last year by how many times they conceded 30, 35 plus in all their shootouts. So yeah, Big Ten defense is some of the best defense in the country. And yeah, I imagine, like say, there's probably guys there that are thinking in the near future next season, maybe go to play with him. Like I say, there's guys this year. One of my favourites in the draft, Jar Joyner. Then you've got Danny Strigman. And then, like I say, in future years, like I say, you've got Coy Perich. Like I say, you've got backers, you've got corners. You say, got an absolute treasure trove that has come out or is right there right now. Yeah, and it's been a very good unit under PJ Falcon defense. Might say their defensive football's been very good. So yeah, it's a good hire for them. Yeah, and honestly, if Miami had sorted its defense out a couple more weeks this season, they'd have been in the playoffs. That's pretty much a given if they played a bit more defensive football. So yeah, we'll see if they can find a better balance next year, which is what they need really.
yeah, I'm gonna assume that Minnesota, they usually hire from within with their guys, so I'm gonna assume that they're gonna do that
I
again,
mean,
but is a
I'll
bit
be
of
honest, the Carson Beck to Miami does not enamor me whatsoever.
no, it does not with me either. But yeah, Minnesota news in the building while we were there. Right, let's move it on. I'd say we do have questions today, but I just want to talk about the bowl games first. Obviously, the semis were last Thursday and Friday, and we got a couple of really good games. Started off with Notre Dame and Penn State. Now, I think everyone had Notre Dame pegged down to win this by some distance, but this was an absolutely cracking game, which came down right to the very end. Notre Dame eking out a win 27 to 24 over James Franklin's Penn State, who put up a lot bigger fight than I think people thought they were going to. They started off this game incredibly well. It was a scoreless first quarter. Like both defenses were just over each other like a rash. Abdul Carter was playing with his shoulder basically in a sling and was still having an elite game. But Penn State, they had a short 20-yard field goal. They got stopped at the Notre Dame three. Really good red zone defense from them to put them 3-0 up. Then Nicholas Singleton, he had one of his best games in a long time. Just before the half, had a 5-yard touchdown run to put them up 10-0 with 2 minutes 20 left of the half. Now, Notre Dame were able to get a field goal just before halftime. Mitch Jeter from 41 yards, and I feel like I'm part of Mitch Jeter's family now. They show him they show his family every single game about 10 times. They're ever so much into him and how he plays. But yeah, it was 10-3 at the half to Penn State, and you're thinking, oh, actually, maybe the upset's on here. They looked really good indeed. But Notre Dame came out with a new purpose in life. Riley Leonard had a rushing touchdown from 3 yards out to even the game up just 5 minutes into the third quarter. Then it went back to a really defensive affair again. The rest of the third quarter passed without scoring, and it took getting to the fourth quarter for this game to just blow the hell wide open. So Jeremiah Love uh, put Notre Dame into the lead. He had a 2-yard touchdown run to put them 17-10 up. But Penn State fought right back, and a couple of rushing touchdowns from Nick Singleton, both from 7 yards out, was able to put Penn State 7 up with just under 8 minutes to go. Notre Dame then hit right back. Big play from Riley Leonard. Found Jaden Greathouse for a 54-yard touchdown. And, Jaden Greathouse broke. I can't remember which Penn State DB it was, but someone had their ankles broken and they've not been able to find them since that. It was quite embarrassing there. And then tied up 24 apiece. Notre Dame, it kind of felt like whoever was going to have the ball last was going to be able to win this, and Notre Dame did get the ball last. Now, Penn State really put up a fight with this, trying to keep them at bay, but they got it down to the 24. 41-yard field goal, which Mitch Jeter finished the first half with a 41-yard field goal. He finished the second half with a 41-yard field goal, which put Notre Dame up by 3 and sent them through to their first natty for a very long time, Ryan. I mean, we worried maybe that there were two very favorite teams going into this week, and we might see another couple of blowouts like we did with the quarterfinals, but this had everything. Penn State, to their credit, really came to play in this game. Their rushing attack was really good. Their defense was good for most parts. Notre Dame fought very hard. This felt worthy of one of the big bowl games and as a semi-final. And, ultimately, last possession wins. And sometimes that's just how it is. Notre Dame got the coin flip and went and got it.
Yeah, I enjoyed this game for all the wrong reasons. Because I'll start by saying I thought both quarterbacks were poor. I thought Ryan Leonard was bad. And Drew Aller, if he had any notion of declaring for the draft before the game, well, everyone knew it wasn't after because Drew Aller absolutely stunk. It was a bad day for Drew at the office. But yeah, turnovers, the interceptions were bad, but like you said, turnovers, good amount of run game, a lot of punts, special teams, penalties, quite chippy as well. Like I say, these two, like I say, they were really going at it. It was a very physical affair. I did enjoy it though. Like I say, there was very defensive, like I say, Abdul Carter. Then like I say, you got the secondary of that's just preying on balls. Like I say, their coverage is really good. Joel just could get nothing going. His receivers just could not get any of any space, any separation. Like I say, the secondary of Notre Dame is just it's elite. All the guys pull their weight, and then both teams, like I say, break off some big runs at crucial moments, which were able to then like I say, help take the load off the passing game.
Yeah.
Abdul Carter showed that in the big moments, like I say, he's that guy. Like you say, managed to get a key sack. Like I say, the whole Penn State D line though, let's say 5 sacks. Like I said, they had a tremendous amount of success against the Notre Dame whole line. But can't be said for the other side. Like I said, Notre Dame could only get to Drew Aller once throughout the whole game for a sack, which was worrying and disappointing. But yeah, like I said, the defenses and special teams really showed up on this day. And then, yeah, big play, like you say, on that Jane Greathouse touchdown. The corner falls over, so then he's wide open. And then he catches the ball, and then the safety, the poor guy just stranded in absolute no man's land. And then, like you say, just gets sold the kipper. And there's nothing he could do really to stop it. It was over top and, like I say, 1-on-1. But yeah, not many explosive plays in the game. It was a lot of, like I say, I'll go back, negative plays, then we'll just chew up the drives, a lot of time, lengthy drives, and then, yeah, costly turnovers. It was chaotic. And I loved that. Like I said, it felt very much worthy of being a national title game because it was incredibly tense. And neither team was able to, yeah, take the game by the scruff of the neck. It
Oh.
always felt like a mistake or special teams right at the end was going to be the deciding factor.
Yeah, you're right. This was not pretty in a lot of aspects. So the quarterbacks, as you mentioned, Riley Leonard, 15 of 23, 217 yards, a touchdown, but two interceptions. He was out the game briefly. Steve Angeli came in and actually led one of the most best-looking drives in the game. The backup Notre Dame quarterback. I think he played the last drive of the second half after Leonard got absolutely smooshed. But to his credit, he did come back in, finish the game. And then Drew Aller was 12 of 23 for 128 yards and one interception. And the big story coming out of this one, right? You talk about where Penn State may have fallen short or that. Not one single pass was
To receive.
completed to a Penn State wide receiver. You had six to Tyler Warren, the tight end. You got two to Khalil Dinkins, who I believe is the backup tight end. Then you got ones to Katron Allen, Nicholas Singleton, the running backs. There were targets. Harrison Wallace was targeted 3 times, no catches. Amari Evans targeted once, no catches. Both of them subsequently have gone in the
All
portal
three
as
hit the portal
well.
yesterday, didn't they? Every player that
So
didn't catch a pass.
yeah, but I mean, that just goes to show that's where their Achilles heel really has been. I mean, last year it was, I mean, people have like really gone after Aller saying he's not good enough and that, and he's coming back to college for a year, so he's smart enough to know that he needs another year. But at some point you need a pass catcher to help you. You look at all the other elite quarterbacks around the league and all the other big teams. Most of them have a signature pass catcher to get you out of trouble, to give that man some help. But no wide receivers caught a ball in this one for Penn State. That's just not good.
Nope. And I am with you. Am I a fan of Drew Aller and do I think he's an NFL quarterback? No. Is he put in positions to win by having elite cores of talent around him like a lot of other Big Ten schools? Also, no. Like I said, it's not like he's working bad guys, but he's working with guys that for some reason he just seems can't form a relationship with. Like I say, and he doesn't just have the one guy. Like I'm looking at the list. Who was the last elite Penn State wide receiver?
See, I thought
How
about this
far
the other
back do we
day.
have to go?
I think you have to go all the way back to Chris Godwin. I think was it Chris Godwin?
Yeah,
It was a
yeah.
Tampa receiver. I think
Got
it was.
Chris Godwin, Allen Robinson from 2011, 2013, Jahan Dotson.
I'm not
Dotson was an
including
absolute
him
stud.
yet.
Yeah.
I'm not including him yet as an NFL success because he
No,
ain't
like I
made it
say, 'cause
just yet.
yeah. Like I say, the last time they reproduced, like I say, you've got to go back to Chris Godwin and Allen Robinson between 2011 and 2016. That's 8, 9 years, like I say, of having somewhere between subpar, average to good wide receiver player. And
At the
yeah,
collegiate level.
yeah.
Not even NFL level, just
No.
at the
And,
collegiate
and you
level.
look at, like you say, the guys that have been on the other side of the ball, Ohio State, just look at every receiver they've had since Chris Godwin's like left Penn State. Just absolutely crazy. Like you say, and yeah, it's not like they're not a big school. It's not like they just they just can't seem to compete in the wide receiver market. And the portal, like I say, they're always lose the big guys are always going to, like I say, guys like Ohio State. Or they'll go to Michigan, or they'll go somewhere else. Let's say, or they'll go to
DeAndre
USC.
Lambert Smith went to Auburn because he felt like he wasn't going to be able to Auburn.
Yeah,
You lost your top receiver to Auburn in the last draft cycle. Like, you've got to have some questions, at least about the coaching there. Because all these players are now leaving, they don't feel like they've lost their top two receivers from this year. They don't feel like they're going to progress there. That says something that they've got a really big problem, and it will continue to hold them back.
yeah. Because they probably worked out by now that running the ball all the time doesn't work.
Yeah, exactly. So, we'll have to.
Like I say, yeah. The season ends now, but like I say, I look at them next year and I'm instantly worried.
Mm, exactly.
Tyler
It
Warren
goes.
is leaving. Tyler Warren
Yeah,
is going to be a first round draft pick,
exactly.
which is
And
great. Like you say, but yeah, look at the big gaping hole left behind him.
yeah, you've got no weapons. Like your line is, I'm pretty sure, going to stay intact next year. Your two-star running backs are coming back. Your quarterback's coming back. But where are your weapons? You'll need to be in the portal, getting some weapons out of there for him to throw at. Like, Notre Dame did. I know they've not really had it recently, but I mean, they had. Great House obviously had a 100-yard day thanks to that one really big one. But who was it? The freshman they had, Aeneas Williams. I think he's a running back, but he had like six catches for 80-odd yards or something silly. Like he looks like he's going to be good. I guess as soon as Jeremiah Love's done, Aeneas Williams is going to be the next great running back there. But um, anywho, moving defensively though, there is a lot to like from them here. So we mentioned that obviously. Abdul Carter had his day. He had a sack, eight quarterback pressures on the day. Just the dude and he's working with a busted arm. I do genuinely believe he's in number one pick territory, and like he should be maybe the first number one edge rusher. So I think it Jadeveon Clowney, the last edge rusher who went number one. I don't think there's been an edge rusher since him who's
Yes.
gone number one. So I think he
Aiden were the
could do
closest, I
it.
think, since
Yeah.
Clowney.
Oh no, Trayvon Walker. Duh.
Well,
I guess I'll class him
I
as,
suppose,
but
yeah, as an interior guy, yeah.
yeah, maybe not, but the outright star edge player, it was all the way back there. But he had a great game, and he's going to be a stud at the next level. But then, and this was another player who's going back. So Danny Dennis Sutton, he's the other edge. He had two sacks on the day. He looked amazing. The one player who's really stood out though in these playoffs for me, I didn't notice him before, Zakee Wheatley, the safety. He got
Yeah.
another pick in this one. He's had an absolutely monster postseason so far. I don't think I know he's draft eligible this year, but this has been his first year as a starter, and he's been absolutely tremendous. Probably one more year you come back, you may be looking at a first round draft pick, but you can't say Penn State's defense did not fight in this because that Notre Dame team has bullied people all year long and they kept the run game in check for most of it. They had to do it through the air instead.
Yeah, their defense put up a hell of a fight. Like I say, generated 2 turnovers. Like I say, it held Jeremiah Love to what, 45 yards?
Yeah.
Something like that, yeah. Like 5 yards count. Then, like I say, gave up a couple of decent sized runs to Riley Leonard. Defense basically did everything it could. Like I say, it got the ball back multiple times. It forced like 4 or 5 punts. So that's possession swapped 6 or 7 times. Like I said, it was the offense ultimately at Penn State. It lay it down. It could not get a lot going, like I say, especially. So yeah, that was the issue. On the other side, like I say, Notre Dame, who in recent weeks, like I say, have had a lot of success on defense. They kind of, yeah, they were barren this week.
They had trouble stopping the run. Now, obviously, they're missing one of their two signature D
Yeah,
tackles.
Riley Mills is done, isn't he?
I mean that hurts when he's not in there. Obviously, Howard Cross is having to do it all, and then the backup guys are not quite there just yet, and you can tell Penn State had success in
They're
there.
relying nearly all now on their linebackers, Kaiser and the safety as well, Schuler,
Yeah, you got
to squish
Viliamu
out in the
Asa
middle.
in there as well. He was good. Kaiser, game number 69 for them. The Nat is going to be his 70th game in college. Like he's done this year. I mean, he's got to be at 70 games. You can't really play more in 5 eligible years. But that's going to be a big miss for them when they're doing. You saw him in this game. He was the heart and soul of it. Absolutely everywhere.
Yeah, yeah, he's going to go down. Whether they win or lose now, he's probably going to be in the history books. He's going to go down as a Notre Dame legend, just purely for availability and his durability in all that time. Just very rarely missed any playing time throughout those games.
14 tackles and a sack. Like he did his job there. So I mean, for Notre Dame, obviously it's a big opportunity now going forward. Obviously, you are very stylistically, we've got two completely different teams that are going to be playing in this natty now, but you would always, give a chance to the team that runs the ball and it's really, really physical. But they've got a huge opportunity for now. For Penn State, I mean, they've got the pieces next year, right? As we mentioned. They've got some really big guys coming back on offense. You've got to sort the receivers out, but you know the defense is always going to be great, and there's some real big studs coming back next year. So I would expect to see them back again, or I would expect to see them in the playoffs again next year. I don't know about you. I think the future does look bright for them, providing they can just get some pass catchers.
Yeah, I don't see them missing the playoffs. Like I said, they're returning the players at the most important positions back: quarterback, running backs. Like I say, an edge rusher, some of their defensive backs, guys like that, and their offensive line. If your offensive line is coming back, you're all good. Like I say, yeah, they're going to have to find, like I say, a makeshift receiving core of the guys now that are the wide receiver 4, 5, and 6, and then maybe I'm going to guess they'll probably have some freshmen. So they're probably going to have to probably try find out some of those that can get involved pretty quickly. Oh, they're
Yeah.
also, yeah, who's the next good tight end? I'm gonna need another security blanket for Drew, just like Tyler was. So yeah, I imagine they'll be just fine. Like I say, Franklin has bought himself some more time.
Yeah, he's bought himself another year. I think you've got to go and look for the Big Ten next year, though. Talk about,
His record in all the big games is still terrible.
yeah,
Yeah, but like I said, the Wolves are at bay right now.
And he's got more pieces than a lot of other teams are going to have next year. So, he's given himself time. We will see what happens. But well done to Notre Dame. And then in our other bowl game, Ohio State and Texas, we again wondered one team came into this Ohio State vastly overwhelming favorites coming into this one. And although on the scoreline, it wasn't as close. This, for the most part, was a really close game. This was really hard fought up until the end when one big play decided this, but both teams went at each other really hard. Ohio State scored first. Quinshon Judkins getting himself another touchdown. He's having a hell of a playoffs as well. He had a 9-yard touchdown run about 8 minutes into the game. I think it was the first possession, and they just absolutely ran all over, and you're worried for Texas. But Texas were able to hit back, and young Jaden Blue, who's had to do a ton of work in the backfield this year because every other Texas running back is injured, he got himself a lovely receiving touchdown. Lovely pass from Quinn Ewers to him leaking out the backfield. It was an 18-yard touchdown to level it up. And that was with 29 seconds left in the half. So you're looking at going into halftime 7-all, and everything's looking bright and rosy for you. But no, they Ohio State got the ball first and 10 at the 25, and you're thinking, are they going to kneel this one out? Are they're gonna have a play and they're gonna try and do something with it? And Travion Henderson took it to the house from 75 yards out. There was a breakdown in coverage. He leaked out late. Will Howard found him, and he had an absolute convoy of blockers in front of him. I think Texas really sold out against this play, and Travion Henderson did not get touched. He took it 75 yards to the house, and with 29 seconds left, it took them 16 to restore that lead, which felt like a really big gut punch for Texas going into the half, but Ohio State went in 14-7 up. Now, in fairness to them, they came out and they started playing some good ball again. It was very tense in the third quarter until you got down to the last 3 minutes. And once again, Jaden Blue out the backfield, receiving touchdown from Quinn Ewers, this time from 26 yards. The dude's having a phenomenal year, and I'll have to check, but I'm pretty sure he's only a freshman because they lost all their senior guys before the season started. That was with 3 minutes left in the third quarter. Both teams went back at it again. Ohio State managed to get themselves back in front with 7 minutes to go. Once again, Quinshon Judkins, he finished off a run just from 1 yard. This time he finished off a second and goal. Really incisive attacking set from Ohio State there to make the lead 7. And then Texas's last drive, they took a lot of time, got down to about 2 minutes, 3 minutes left, and they were able to get into a goal situation in the Ohio State 10-yard line, and they were stopped on first down. They were stopped on second down, and then Steve Sarkisian with a play which he has been ridiculed for absolutely all week. He had a toss play out to his running back to the left, and Ohio State blew this thing up, sent them back about 6 or 7 yards on the play to force them into a fourth and I think it was from the 9-yard line for a fourth down situation. Ohio State sent the house at poor Quinn Ewers, and who got to him? It was star edge Jack Sawyer. He stripped the ball out of Quinn Ewers' hands. The ball bounced very fortuitously for him, and he housed this thing 82 yards. He ran it back for the strip six, and that was game. 14-point lead with just 2 minutes to go. Texas were just not able to get back into this one and ended up turning it over on downs to end the game. And you talk about the finer margins in football, right? Texas put up one hell of a fight considering what people thought might happen in this one. Ohio State were vastly overwhelming favorites, and it come down to one big play from the big playmaker on that defensive line. We said, is that the area where Ohio State will win this game? And their star man did. But, I mean, boy, this was fun. But that last set from Steve Sarkisian is going to haunt him for the rest of his days, you're going to feel.
Yeah. End of the day, it's situational football. Like I said, if you give the team the opposing ball with, like, say, just before the half, you can't allow any explosive players, whether they score or not. You can't let them get into field goal range. You've got to make sure, one, they use all their timeouts. Two, they're worried or they're not risking it. They kneel it out. But yeah, they didn't do either of them. Like you say, it's a great play call. Like you say, you let all the pressure come out. You basically just let the defense flood you. Then you get it, say, a little dump off over the top. You get the offensive line out in front of them to get to the second level, to get to guys like Michael Taff, big blocks on the safeties and the backers, and Trevion Henderson, yeah, just a home run splash play. And that play totally changes everything that Steve Sarkisian is going to say in about 40 seconds. I imagine he probably exploded in that locker room. He would have been very happy at 7-7. Like I say, you get out there and it changes everything that he's going to say. And the next drive, when you come out of the half, just becomes so much more pressure. Like I say, you've got to instantly respond because it's left a bad taste in the mouth. And you can see the fans as well, absolutely stunned. Like I said, going to the half, they were very comfortable, and then that happens, and yeah, the game, the cameras could not help but pan onto them guys all game. The Texas fans got crucified, but yeah, people. But then say come out the half. Well, Jaden Blue had one hell of a game, not as a rusher, but as a receiver. He showed this week that he can do it both, especially on, like say, the screens, the little out routes, the wheel, where he's a big threat because he's a big guy, like I say, but he's got good speed, so he's very good out of the backfield in that sense. Yeah, it was a great game. Then yeah, right at the end, it's a, you you see it where they always say like when those drives, like they say, you get into the goal line, time's run out. Like I said, things you can't do. If it's not there, you've got to throw it away. You can't take a sack. You can't have a negative play because the clock moves down and you move further back. So yeah, the toss play where it's basically a lateral and it's pretty obvious. Like I say, as the ball's moving out, you can see that he's moving edging further and out, and the defense is just going like, oh, we'll move over them. And like I say, it was like a pack of wolves. As soon as the ball went, like you say, and not just to get him down, just they just drove him back. And yeah, and then you're in an obvious passing down. I think it was like fourth and like say fourth and nine, fourth and 11, wasn't it? So they've moved all the way back. This one game where you've got to get the ball out quickly. Like I say, it's going to be a turnover on downs or a score. Like I say, they can't get a first down really. And then yeah, the blind side is just unprotected. Ewers just doesn't feel it. And that's what I was worried about him. Like I said, he should see him coming because he comes through pretty much unprotected, beats the block, and then yeah, hits him, gets the ball, and then could have taken. We saw it in the NFL about a week ago, where when one of the games right at the end, where he hit a guy, the running back took a knee instead of trying to score the long touchdown right at
Big
the end of the
one.
game. Yeah, could have done that, Jack Sawyer, but he said nope. I'm going to scoop. I'm going to score, and I'm not just going to kneel and let the clock run out. I'm going to put the final nail in the coffin. And you can see Ryan Day like practically chasing him down the sideline, absolutely stacked. And the Texas fans' faces in the crowd. Honestly, they looked like they were. In 1 minute it was joy. They're at first and goal. Next, like I say, 45 seconds later, Jack Sawyer's celebrating in the end zone, and they're teary-eyed. And it was, yeah, it was life comes at you very quick moment.
They did Sark so dirty there because they had the side by side coach like reaction whilst the play was happening because they put them both up there. And you could see the look on Sark's face of like, oh no, it's going back, and then Ryan Day's just running down the sideline going mental. You're like, you've done him dirty there.
Yeah,
Like the look on
like I
his
say,
face was horrendous, but
it
it
came down to ultimately
one play.
big time playmakers make big time plays, don't they?
They
Like I say,
do.
JT Tuimoloau, a
But
sack and a half, Sawyer a sack, Sonny Styles. Jesus, I've never seen a safety 6'4" and 235. He's got the same build as Kyle Hamilton. Like I
mm,
say, got a sack, 9 tackles, 5 sacks on the year. He was an absolute menace, especially trying to rush the passer. Like I say, their defense really came to play. Downs had 5 tackles. Ransom made some big plays, had some good tackles for losses. Like I say, Latham Ransom looks like a potential NFL player in future. But like I say,
oh
on the
yeah.
Texas sideline, the defense it just couldn't muster a lot. Will Howard was just pretty damn comfortable for most of the day, and he didn't feel a lot of pressure. Obviously, there was a bad interception over the middle, but yeah, it was one of those where it all kind of just unraveled for Texas. And Quinn, like I say, the guys where there were no explosive plays. Like I said, a lot of it was like short to intermediate rounds. Like I said, Golden only got 2 receptions. Matthew Golden. When you think about what he's done in previous weeks to just get 2 receptions, kind of crazy how they were using him. Gunnar Helm, usually really good in the red zone, didn't get a huge look in. So yeah, it was a very disappointing day by Texas standards.
I mean, yeah, you kind of look at we talked about, not being able, and I think Quinn wasn't able to throw. He didn't have time to throw to his receivers. You
Yeah,
look
the pocket was
again.
collapsing pretty quickly.
So his top two receivers, Quintravian Wisner, 6 catches, 42, and Jaden Blue, 5 catches, 59 in terms of volume of catches. They're both running backs.
Check downs.
11 of his 23 throws were to his running backs. And because you don't have time to get the ball out, because that Ohio State line is forcing pressure. So you can't wait for Golden to get down the field and get himself open, etc. And, they've got some very interesting prospects because half of this Texas team have now declared for the draft. Golden amongst one of them. He's coming up early. Bender, the one who got the interception,
I
like
like him. He's a good linebacker, David Bender.
he's a 6th-year guy, and he's played all right, but he's going to be one of those who just goes under the radar because of his general lack of football over his 6 years. But he's had a hell of a playoffs as well. Every time you hear his name mentioned again and again and again and again, and he's been a big part of this. But it's crazy. It just again it comes down to receivers and being able to throw out there. On the other side, though, I mean you've got to give Ohio State credit. Jeremiah Smith didn't play in this game. He got 1 catch for 3 yards. This was the Amika Ibuka show today, and Carnell Tate as well sort of came through. He had 7 catches on the day. So that's the dangerous thing about this Ohio State team now is they don't need their star freshman wide receiver. They've got that many targets. They can hit you in one of many different ways, and the run game doesn't have to be great. Their stat padding with their touchdowns, it's not great, but they just look there's an area of an inevitability about them at the moment, isn't there? I fear what Michigan have broken them, but not broken them that they've just sort of lost their head. They've broken them and turned them psycho, and now they're taking it out on everybody else, and everyone else is going to be sorry for this.
Yeah, that defense in the last few weeks has just it's playing as good as ever, but the intensity, like I say, the arrogance, the bit they got a swagger around them, haven't they? Like I said, they've got a cockiness to them where they're just up for it. And like I say, and yeah, they're fired up. Like I said, they're getting in your faces. There's a lot of afters. Like I say, it's just but as a unit, like I say, it's not a lack of discipline. It's a we're gonna let you know you're in a game early. Like I say, every lingering hit feels it's got a little bit more on it. Every time they get to the quarterback, it's not just a sack. It's a we're going to drive the QB to the floor. Like I say, you as like I say, precinct guys, like I say, getting absolutely crumpled, and they're making sure, like I say, they make sure they feel everything. And these guys, yeah, a lot of these guys, uh, this year, not next year, like so they're going to the pros and they're trying to make a lasting legacy, and they're doing everything they can.
In Jack Sawyer, they've unleashed a monster, and this is Michigan's fault for flag planting because I think something snapped in him when they planted the flag for a second time. You saw it, like, there were 4 guys having to carry him away from this, and you kind of feel like it's just like he's been working like fanatically since then to make sure that his team does not get disrespected like that again. I mean, in this game alone, a sack, 3 quarterback hits, another 2 pressures for him. He's just gone absolutely crazy. And of course, he had a battered pass. He had the strip fumble pick six, which ultimately decided the game. Like he's just right at the top. JT Tuamaulo did well. He had 2 sacks as well. As you mentioned, Sonny Styles, his hybrid. I think he's more of a star. He's probably a star at the next level, as in the star player. But this defense just went crazy. But Ohio State are going to go on now to Notre Dame. In terms of Texas, well, I mean, for Texas, this is all brand new now because, as we mentioned, a lot of their team has declared in light of this. So Arch Manning is obviously going to be the quarterback next year, but he's losing his left tackle, he's losing his right tackle, he's losing his top 2 wide receivers, he's losing his top tight end. This offense is going to look a hell of a lot different for Texas next year. It's certainly going to be a new age, and some of these some of these guys who are going pro from Texas. I mean, a lot of them. We see a few of these guys in the first round. Absolutely, Kelvin Banks will, maybe a couple of others, but this was a changing of the guard moment now.
Yeah, I suppose in a way where Texas probably gets a pass if they're bad next year because you're throwing in a quarterback that's got 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 snaps. Has come in in the playoffs on time, sometimes on a 4th down rush, and he's been stuffed a few times. That's like his only real involvement he's had in any big games. The only time he's ever come in is games over and won. Quinn, here's a bottle of Gatorade, go on Arch. Like I said, yeah. So really, like I say, he's a complete novice. And yeah, Bond's gone, Golan's gone, Helm's gone. Top three targets this year, gone. So his main guy next year will be the freshman. Fair, he's got Ryan Wingo, a freshman I absolutely
Mm.
love. But like I say, you don't want a freshman in front of a freshman, usually, really. Not so yeah, they're gonna have to, like I say, rework that roster, like I say, get some guys. But like I say, yeah, on the other side, Jade Barron, I think could be a first rounder. Like I say, I
Andrew
think he could sneak
McCooper
into there.
would
Yeah,
be.
and then like I say, you've got Bender. There too, you've got like I say, a left tackle, a right tackle. Texas has got a lot of questions. Steve Sarkisian is going to have to do a hell of a lot of work to plug these gaps, if possible. I just don't think he's going to do it throughout the next window in the spring. There's going to be novices starting in some of them positions.
Yeah. Now you've got some part like you've
Yeah,
got like
Jaden
Collins.
Blue and Quinton. Like I said, I don't know something wise, but I think Blue will. I
Blue's
think
a
Blue will be back. I
junior,
think he's a redshirt junior. I think
so
he'll be one of the best backs in the country next year.
1,100 all-purpose yards this year and 14 touchdowns.
Yeah, if
Again,
he
he
stays
was not
healthy,
meant
he's
to
going to be
be
a
the
star next year.
he was not meant to be the starter. They lost their two starters right before the season because we said what on earth's going to happen with them, and it's all been on his shoulders this year. Quintravian Wisener's obviously been good. I mean, on defense, you've got Colin Simmons. He's going to be a star, like
Yeah,
absolute stud.
he's
He
very
had a
good.
really good game, and he's a freshman. Like he looks amazeballs. So they've got him. I know the third Taft, like you say, he's going back,
Yeah,
which makes
experienced
sense.
safety. Yeah,
Given the two starting safeties are gone, this is going to be his time to shine. You've got some pieces, but this is going to be very much a big rebuild for them. With Ohio State, though, they're going to have the biggest rebuild of them all because, as we mentioned, like on their defense, I'm pretty sure it was 9 of the 11 starters are fourth years or like older. So you're going to have a lot off, but I mean, moving forward two stylistically big clashes here. Ohio State, they love to air it out to their receivers. They love to get the ball downfield quick. They will run it. And then Notre Dame, who love to run the football down your throat, control time of possession, big on the line of scrimmage. I mean, just think of all the battles coming into this one. You've got that Notre Dame offensive line against Ohio State's defensive line. You've got all these Ohio State receivers against the Notre Dame secondary with Xavier Watts, all guys like this. I mean, this could be like prime view. Well, this is going to be prime viewing. Stylistically, two very different teams and two head coaches absolutely desperate to win this. I mean, I guess it means more for Ryan Day because he's been there longer, but it doesn't mean his counterpart's not going to want it anymore. This is going to be fun.
yeah. I like this. Yeah, chalk and cheese. You got two quarterbacks that couldn't be more different. Will Howard, he's a stand and deliver. He's steps up into the pocket, or he takes one step outside left, and then, like I say, gets to his reads. Doesn't want to do anything Riley Leonard does. Riley Leonard is most effective when he's running. If anything, Riley Leonard can look terrible at times when he does stand in the pocket and deliver. Like I say, he's better when he's extending plays of his legs, and like I say, he's giving guys chance to break a coverage or contain. So yeah, this massive balance. If it's simple fact that if the Ohio State D line can keep Riley Leonard in check, that's the disaster for Notre Dame. But like I say, if Watts, if guys like that, if Christian Gray, oh, he's had a really good sophomore year. It's not been talked about the Notre Dame cornerback.
Yeah.
He's probably gonna get like say Ibuka or Jeremiah Smith, like say whoever's the top target. If they can like say keep those guys and not give up big explosive plays, they put the wrong game. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of interesting position battles for this game. I think I don't know. Everything just points to me that whoever wins this, I don't see it being a close scoreline. I think someone takes this game by the scruff of the neck and will impose their will on the other team.
Yeah,
As you
it's
say, with the head coaches, Ryan Day gets a lot of hate from his own fans. Christ, a lot of people just hate Ryan Day. They just think he's been here too long, so he needs this. On the flip side, Marcus Freeman, a relative novice head coach, like I say, that's not had time to build the doubters. Like I say, he's done a very good job with them. Very young, what just turned 40. Also, the Chicago Bears want to interview him. So I don't know. Like I say, how if he does really well, if he wins the national title next year, like how long does Marcus Freeman before he's the allure to jump up takes over. You can only put it off so long because we've seen it that they will lose interest in you very quickly if you turn down the first job. Yeah, it's going to be very interesting this.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking forward to it. I think
If
we've got
Marcus
one
Freeman
more.
wins a national title, I think for whatever happens next season in the next head coaching cycle, I think he takes an NFL job
Well, I know the Bears have been
if
in
he's
touch
offered
with
one.
him about their head coach job, so
Yeah.
I know obviously that's an
I don't feel
in-state
that's a good
thing,
fit.
but
Not
no,
right now for either of them. But in
no.
another year, I think Marcus Freeman could be an NFL head coach.
Yeah, yeah, I'm really looking forward to this and say there's going to be so much talent on show here. Like these guys, if Sawyer has another good one,
Yeah.
I
The
don't know
more I
why
watch Jack
isn't.
Sawyer, the more I think Detroit Lion.
Yeah, I've said that I've been saying this for a few weeks now. If you're Dan Campbell, you draft Jack Sawyer, you take Sawyer and Hutch into a room and you say, right, guys, whoever gets least sacks this year has to wear the opposing team's colours. You have to go to the game and support the other team, and you've got to do it in full social media and stuff like that. They will destroy the league between them. Can you imagine the level of competition those two are going to have to better one another? Put opposite members of the game on your defensive line, and they will kill a lot of people. Like, I believe that now. He shouldn't be there at 32. I don't know why
No.
he's
Another big game
so.
national title, I can't see him being at 32
No.
either at 6'5", 260.
These clutch performances are going to take him up, and you're going to have to go up to get him. I don't know why. He's just you look at him, he's all energy, and he doesn't stop. He reminds you of Hutch in a way, in just his incessantness. He just keeps coming at you again and again and again and again, and you get no rest with him whatsoever. That's what Hutch does. Hutch wears you down by attrition. Jack Sawyer does the same. And again, last play of the game, when you've been playing all game, you can house a ball back 82 yards. That is some stamina and a half there from him. So we look forward to that, and we shall review the whole game as and
What's your
when it's
prediction? What's
over.
what's the score line or the margin of
Oh,
victory?
don't, because I'm. These are two teams who they've been on fraud watch ever since we basically started this podcast 4 years ago, and now it's like you've got to choose between. Like my gut, and I hate this, has been telling me now that Ohio State are the better team, and ever since they lost to Michigan, I've just. I feel like they've been better than everyone else they've come up against. And again, you've got to look at the seniority of the team. It's an experienced team. Like you've got so many guys who've just been there for so long now, and you look at the offense, and you can't find a hole with that offense, really. Even if you stop the run game, they'll just lob a ball 60 yards down the field to a Booker or Jeremiah Smith and move the chains. Notre Dame, it just feels a little bit more, they feel a bit more vulnerable. Like if you've got to put this, who would you trust in a situation? If you're putting it on a QB to chase in this game, would you rather it be Will Howard or Riley Leonard? Probably would say Will Howard. I don't trust Riley Leonard chasing a game. I don't know about you. My gut tells me Ohio State are going to win by one within one score though. I think it's going to be very close, but they feel inevitable like Michigan did when they won it. 'Cause we said Michigan were going to win the whole thing from a while out there because they just felt inevitable. To me, Ohio State feel inevitable.
Yeah. It's hard because it's one of those games where it just feels like Notre Dame, despite being a national title game, no pressure.
Yeah,
It feels
yeah,
like really it's a free hit. They didn't think they'd be here.
no.
I mean, if you ask a lot of the fans, a lot of them would have liked to be in here, but deep down, probably didn't think they'd be here. Whereas the Buckeyes fans saw a 12-team playoff and thought, we've got to get there.
Yeah, and it doesn't
All the
feel.
pressure on Ohio State. But I say for me, yeah, I agree with you. When it comes down to it, to make the big plays and the big moments with the weapons, with a guy in your face, who's going to stand up and deliver? I'd say Howard. I'm going to say Ohio State I'd say 10.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be a blowout. Like they're gonna keep it within believability for the most part of the game that either team can win it. You just I don't know. If there's any O-line in the country that could stand up to Ohio State, it's a Notre Dame one, but they're so hurt there. Like obviously I think they're down to left tackle 3 or 4 now. They were having issues with because that's why Abdul Carter was having success. I just feel like there's too much there. And they just that Ohio State D line's going to be the deciding factor. They'll I, they'll strip sack Riley Leonard or
Yeah.
something like that. They'll do
His
what they
play
did.
style, where he likes to get
Yeah,
flushed out, usually
yeah,
means, like, say, when he's getting
yeah.
chased, he gets
There's
brought down.
there's a
He's going to cough the
turnover
ball
there.
up.
There's a turnover there. So and I'm sorry to you, Brent. Michigan fan in the building and all, but you had an Army American Championship win this year, so you've done pretty well. I do think it will be Ohio State. All right, let's move it on from
Do we think
playoff
Riley
talk.
Leonard declares for the draft?
No. Oh, because he's got to. Oh no, he can wait. What is he now? He was a 4-year Duke guy, or was he 3? I know he wasn't starter all the time there. I thought he was on his last year because when we did this, we talked about how Hartman was in his last year when he came, and then they got Leonard, who I believed was also in his last year as a starter because they've got to change
Yeah,
quarterback.
he's a fourth year senior.
Oh, so he can come back
He
for be a
can come
super
back, but
senior.
should he?
I mean, do you think he's an NFL quarterback? I don't.
No, but I also don't think he'd be an NFL quarterback coming back another year.
Yeah.
I don't think I don't think he can change the fact he's not an NFL quarterback.
No, that's why I go back to Notre Dame, earn another good bunch of NIL
Yeah,
money,
he'd
and
probably
maybe you
get a decent
will.
wedge. Yeah,
And maybe you can play yourself into it. Who knows? The more experienced you are, the better chance you've got of hooking on with an NFL team, potentially, or at least going CFL or something. So, Brent goes, hate to say it, but if Day wins the Natty, it'd be great for the Wolverines. We can beat him for a few more years in a row. I mean, yeah, I guess. That's still the moniker he's got to get off his back. Like he keeps losing to Michigan. I guess a Natty will protect him though for at least another year or two if he gets that. Freeman's fine for now. Freeman's got another year or two whether he likes it or not. So we'll see with that. Danny Mack's in the building. He says, "How are you fellas? Hope you're good. We are good. Thanks, Danny.
if
Hope
Ohio
you are
State wins,
well."
does that mean that the Big Ten is now finally the pinnacle? You
Yeah.
had Penn State there. You'd have back-to-back Big Ten champions.
Yeah. I mean, Michigan have won it. Ohio State have won it. 4 teams got into the playoffs. I mean, the SEC, I mean, they've been obliterated. Who's really put up a fight, to be honest? Not one of them has looked dominant. It looks like they're in transition, even with NIL and that. They've not been good. Texas were just they were in it against Ohio State, but they never got in front. They were always playing from behind, and there was always a mistake in them. And Tennessee got blown out. Georgia, I know Carson Beck hurt, but still, they weren't good. So we'll see. Brent goes, should be a great game. If I was betting, I'd bet on the Buckeyes by 8. Oh, he didn't say Buckeyes. He used a different letter to start that, but. If even Brent's betting on them, then there you go. Right, let's move it on because we do have some questions and that to get through this evening. Let me just get down into them because there's still a lot. Where are we? Right, well, Danny's in the building, so I'll ask one of Danny's. It's draft related. Well, him and Paul have both asked who you think uh, who our top 10 teams are going to be for next year. Now, obviously, there's a lot of time to go until everything's decided. Obviously, you got to look over training camp, transfer portal, all that sort of stuff. But initial thoughts, which teams initially do you think are going to be like one of the better ones next year? Because I mean, like for me, I would instantly put Penn State as going to be one of the better ones because of who's coming back and, the relatively young on the offensive line. They should be healthy. They got a lot of playmakers. They need some receivers, but they will still be a good team. They will be a player in the Big Ten, and I fancy them to do really well. And Ohio State are going to lose a ton of players. Michigan, who knows what's going to happen with them? Indiana, are they going to be another success? So I'm going to put Penn State in here. But who immediately to you do you think is going to be good next year as it stands right now?
hit and miss this year, but LSU, their portal additions have been fantastic. They've brought in some serious weapons. And Garrett Nussmeier, he's already in chatter of being a 2026 first rounder. He shows all the traits that needs to be. Like I say, and they've had some great play. The guys that are coming back need to come back. Like Harold, I just think the Tigers are going to bounce back in a big way next year. I think someone like Barry and Brown is just going to, in a great addition, is just going to explode in that offense with Garrett Nussmeier.
Yeah,
And
they've got Harold.
their run get that star freshman running back they had this year. Like I said, I just think they've got so many guys that are so young.
I would put Oregon in this conversation. I think Oregon's portal work has been top notch as well. Obviously, Dylan Tyneman, big for their secondary there, but I don't think they'll lose in a few guys to the draft, but I feel like they've been very proficient in restocking. And again, I think the Big Ten's going to be there to be had. There's no outstanding team next year for me in the Big Ten. So that one's wide open. I put Oregon in this conversation. Oh, the Big Ten teams, anyone who'd be in there. I don't know with what do you reckon about Michigan? So we need to know who the starter is. So I'm going to assume that Mikey Keene will start, or it's going to be Mikey Keene will fight with Underwood over this. How long are they going to keep Bryce Underwood on the shelf? When you're paying him as much as you can,
I feel
I
like
don't
Underwood
know.
has to start, yeah.
I,
I feel like Keane's a bit there to be a backup.
yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'd play him in the non. Mind you, you want to give the rookie the non-cons, I guess, don't you? Some easy warm-up games. I'm not sure Michigan will get back to championship contention next year, though. Especially when you look at that, they're losing their defensive line, their heart and soul. You just do not replace Mason Graham and Kenneth Grant in one cycle. Like that's going to be a problem. Obviously, Will Johnson's going. One of the best players the best player they've ever had. Will Johnson is gone. They're losing a lot. Um, who else have we got? SEC teams who are going to be good next year. So, I mean, year two of Bama and Kalen DeBoer, but they need a new
I
quarterback.
mean, I don't know
George,
why. I've just got this
don't
feeling that
say Ole Miss
Florida.
again.
No,
Oh,
I feel
Florida.
Florida. DJ Lagway showed flashes. They got Barr, the other
Yeah,
star freshman player. They've brought in a load of guys from the portal. They've got a load of 4 or 5 stars. They got good at that last few games of the season as well. They weren't that bad. They showed
no,
improvement. I've got to feel like the Gators could be quite a surprise package next year.
yeah. The
No,
Gators are Gators are
I'm not saying Ole Miss.
Gators are a dark horse for sure. I mean,
Clemson. I'll say Clemson.
Clemson will be back
They're getting their guys
because
back. They'll
yeah,
still have Phil. I think they might still have Math, but they're going to have the one of the Heisman contenders straight away. Like I said, and they've got in their quarterback, and then they've still got a stud. They've got Wesco. They've still got a stud. Like I said, they'll lose Jake Breenstall and they'll lose some big names, but yeah, they're still sound roster, and it's the ACC after all.
teams standing up against them. I mean, Florida State are not coming back next year. I don't think UNC under Belichick year one are going to be right out the gates. Louisville, Louisville have just got an interesting new quarterback. I don't know whether they could step up. I don't know if they'll be a top 10 team. Big 12.
I mean, pardon me, yeah, to overlook the bias, but Sam Levitt, you're bringing back Jordan Tyson. You've just got the Kentucky tight end. Like I
Pair of
say, you've
corners
got
from
Konya
Purdue.
Udo, 1,000 yard rusher from Army. You've just brought in a starting corner from back from Purdue.
Two.
They've got
Two
yeah,
starting
they've got
corners.
Adrian Wilson, one of the best young players at safety from Washington State. Their all
Tyson.
lines coming back. Mateo at tight end. Yeah, Arizona State. It's
Yeah,
their Big 12 to lose again, definitely.
because there's a tweet saying that they're comeback you this year because all the players who can come back are
Yeah,
coming back. They've not lost any starters to the portal. It's just the draft,
yeah,
which is obviously shows a very healthy
yeah.
environment there that
Alfred's
they're
coming
going to
back.
do.
Abney's coming back. Their whole defensive guys are coming back. Rouser. The only guy that's not come back is Shamari Simmons, but like I say, he's going to the draft.
Yeah, and then on offense, it's just really Scat, isn't it? Who's on
Yeah,
his way up.
like I
So
say,
and
you've got got Raleek Brown, the former USC. You've got Kanyudo. You've got Tayfon Brown that also played last year. So they're running back. Yeah, they're bringing back everyone. The only guys in the offense that are using, like I say, Guillory's run out of, and Caleb McCulloch, the linebacker, but they've run out of eligibility. No one wants to leave.
No. Out of this other Big 12 teams, I can't say right now. I'd like to say Iowa State again, but he's losing all his top targets this
Yeah,
year.
Jane Higgins. I saw
And
someone say he could be a first round draft pick.
yeah, and they're losing a bunch of defenders as well. So Iowa State are going to have to rebuild. Now, I fancy them to do so, but it also depends whether because Campbell's getting looks in the draft cycle again.
Yeah, I've seen him on the list.
So
Wasn't he on the bet? Was he on the Bears initial list
yeah,
potentially?
Matt Campbell's on the head coach cycle, so we've got to check he comes back first. So I can't make any. I think it's tough to decide for the top 10 teams next year as of now. Um, Again, I
I
think
mean,
Ohio.
Colorado. I mean,
It depends. Dion, if Dion
yeah,
goes, that
like I
whole
say,
thing.
I'm leaning towards saying that Deion Sanders is not gonna be there.
No. But his son's not going to be. Shador's not going to
No.
be there. So what are they
Child
going to
won't be
be
there.
like with
Travis won't be
another?
there. LeJounte won't be there.
They've lost a lot of that offense. Now you've got guys like Jordan Seaton. You've got your offensive line you've invested in, but playmakers around him.
Receivers have all gone. Will Shepherd's run out of eligibility.
Hmm.
Guys like that, yeah.
Other former powers. I mean, Bama. I mean, you'd say like Bama, Georgia, teams like this are going to be in the fray, but I don't
Yeah.
see them as being outstanding teams. I certainly don't see a Natty winner potentially next year as of yet.
No. Try to think of dark horses.
Dark horses. Ooh, that might be
What
one
do you
for
think
another
SMU can run it
time.
back?
Ooh, no. I don't think SMU are going to run back. I
They've
think
not
Indiana.
lost a lot, I suppose.
So we got an interesting comment earlier. Let me just go back and find it. Brent, I think it was. He goes, it was a question for later, but the Minnesota Golden Gophers really surprised me this year. I think they're going to have a better season this year. Not sure how many key players they're losing to the draft. To my knowledge, so Ursary, the left tackle, is going to the draft.
Yeah.
Max Brosmer is going to the draft, so you need a new quarterback. And Daniel Jackson, the wide receiver, is going to the draft as well. But you keep your running back core. I think the rest of your offensive line's coming back. Their draft losses are not insurmountable, but obviously it's all about the quarterback now. But you're bringing in Fernando Mendoza, who's
The
potentially going
Cal.
to be, yeah. So you're bringing in Fernando Mendoza. That's pretend, or is that Indiana? That's Indiana. Who've Minnesota bought in? I'm getting wrong here. I'll have to double check. I don't know. Do you fancy the Gophers to make a run this year? I mean, losing the DC is not going to help because he's very good, but
I don't think they make a run, but I feel like they could aim for double digit wins.
okay. Um, Potentially, we'll see. I'll have to look in a bit more in Minnesota and that, but their losses are not that they're gonna really hold them
They
back
got
next
Zach
year.
Pyron,
Oh,
the guy
he's
from
the old
Georgia Tech.
Akron. It did used to be Akron years ago, Zach Pyron. He's like a
Yeah.
ninth year or something now. I wouldn't trust him. But other teams, who's on the precipice of the Tamu? Are Tamu gonna do it in year two of Mike Elko? They're going to have a lot stronger schedule.
I
They had a
think so.
cakewalk schedule next year. You've got to look, because I did for Tamu, I looked at the schedule, which is why I was so close with them doing well this year. But they didn't. And Iowa State, we did pretty well looking at the schedule, but
South Carolina.
I hate them so
You look at a
much.
lot of talent. There's so much
Yeah,
talent there, isn't there? But it just, for some reason, it just doesn't.
no, but a lot of that is young talent there as well.
Yeah,
So
Lenoris Sellers. Like I
I
say,
think
you've still got Nick Harbour.
Yeah. And then you've got to look at the teams who are coming into like the second year of their quarterback. So Tennessee, you're getting year two Nico Iamaleavu now, who's getting some of the kinks out his system and should hopefully be a bit better. And they have a bit more of a balanced offense. I saw their DC's just recommitted to them today as well. So their defense has been pretty good this year. Guess you've got to replace your running back, but should be able to do that in the system they run. Tennessee could be another dark horse. But I'm saying dark horses here. I'm not saying top 10 like outright good teams. I think it's going to be a struggle right now to get some of these. I think Notre Dame will be even better. This is weird. It doesn't even feel like their best team. in some time. Like you feel like they've had a lot more talent on the roster in previous years, but this is the one where they've gone over with a bit less, but a lot of young guys. So I think they're just going to get better under him. So I think Notre Dame will be a top 10 team again next year. We'll see. We'll do our preseason power rankings and that over the summer as well. So we will get on with that. But I hope Minnesota do well. If not, for mile marker's sake, he deserves that. Brent goes, sorry about the cursing. It's an automatic response when referencing the Buckeyes. No, you do not have to apologize at all there, Brent. Danny goes, Penn State seem to be keeping a lot of. Yes, they are. So I would expect them to be right up there this year. Feel for Jaden Davis now they've signed Underwood. Yeah, shocked he's not gone in the portal. I've not seen he's gone in the portal. I don't know whether you have, but I think he's still there.
I've not seen
So
officially and go in though.
whether he's holding out hope that maybe he gets a year before Underwood plays, I mean, he certainly deserves an opportunity. I mean, hell, go to somewhere like Minnesota. They'd start you, and he'd be a great addition for them. But I guess they want someone to run it. So, anywho, we will return to the topic of potential top 10 teams for next season. Obviously, during the off season, we'll do all our power rankings, previews, all that good stuff. In terms of other questions we've had, Paul also goes, you may have done this, so apologies if I've just missed it, but who were your teams of the year this year? So in terms of the season just gone on, I mean, I guess you can sort of really finish it off now with just the Natty on there, but who were your teams of the year in terms of who you really liked, who shocked you, who overachieved? Um, I'll put your guys up there first and foremost. Arizona State were a wonderful story this year of defying the odds, and hopefully they can keep it up going forward. But he did one of the best jobs in the country. Kenny Dillingham did. Who are your top teams of the year, Ryan?
Uh, First of all, I'd say Army. I'd say the Army
Oh,
Black
he's playing
Knights.
to Brent here.
He definitely, like I say, they were one of the biggest surprise packages for me for the whole country. Like I say, realistically, if Bryson Daly plays on any other team, he probably gets more national recognition. But an Army just never would. They just massive level of disrespect for a guy that played better than most quarterbacks in the entire country. But I say shout out. I say Navy as well. Both service academy, all the service academies that are not Air Force had absolutely stellar seasons.
Yeah, absolutely. Indiana, I definitely shout them out as a team of the year for what they did in year one. And again, schedule, yada, 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 yada. Still made the playoffs. Gave Notre Dame a tough game. Offense was just not quite there, but overall, their season was absolutely tremendous. You've got to give them kudos for what they did. Other teams who've done well.
Do you know what? BYU,
Yeah,
credit to them because you know what? Nobody looked at that roster and thought they're going to end the season as a top 25 year. I did not look at Joseph Retzlaff and think, yeah, he's going to lead an 11-2 team, and with a week left, have them actually firmly in place. Well, 2 weeks left, have them a chance to make the playoffs.
exactly. You've got to put that. And then I guess in terms of rosters who you never thought would get there, SMU. Like you
Yeah.
did you a field goal from winning the American, the Atlantic Coastal in your first year again, making the step up. Incredibly impressive performance from them. They've got to be up there on teams of the year. I mean, who else have you got out there?
Obviously, Indiana.
Yeah, Indiana in there. I mean, you've got to give a nod to the two teams in the Natty, though. Really, don't Notre Dame. Nobody saw Notre Dame making a title game this year. Not anybody. Won the schedule. That lost to Northern Illinois. Everyone just forgot about them. But they look dominant. Like few teams have really been able to properly stand up to them because of how bully ball they've been. So that's another tremendous job been done. I'm trying to think down to the group of five and give some kudos there in terms of who won out. But I mean, obviously, Rich Rodriguez and Jacksonville State, tremendous job that he's done second year up in the FBS and he's already won himself a CUSA title domineeringly. So, who else would you put in there? I guess Boise have got to be in
Memphis.
there, right?
Memphis were very good.
Yeah, Boise have got to be in there as well. Sure, I think Sunbelt Marshall. Well, I say yes, he did a tremendous job, and then they messed it up by not giving him a new contract. But Marshall were also up there as well. Um, does Dabo get one for Clemson?
I suppose for
Which,
mid-season, biggest mid-season turnaround definitely goes
yeah,
to Clemson.
yeah, yeah,
Through 4, 5, 6 weeks, they looked lost.
yeah,
Like I say, yeah, someone lit a fire under Club Nick with about 7, 5, 6 weeks to go, and yeah, he was the mid-season Heisman. He was an absolute tear.
yeah, absolutely. So I think in terms of the really upper tier ones, you look in Arizona State, Indiana, teams like SMU, they've done the good jobs. In terms of expectations of them and what they actually did, they were some of the best coaching jobs going. Right, let's just have a look there. Yeah, Brent goes Black Knights. Then next year, I like Hawaii, rooting for Coach Chang. We're always rooting for Hawaii. It's not happened yet, so who knows? Boise, they've lost their secret weapon. UNLV are in flux. There's a power void at the top of the Mountain West potentially, but he's got to go do it. Next year's got to be the year
I mean,
for
if I'm looking
him.
at who's going to drop off the hardest that next year, I can't look. It's the Broncos. Maddox Madsen was okay.
Mm,
The
yeah,
next guy up, Sire Gaines, is a freshman. He only carried the ball 20 times.
yeah,
And a
absolutely.
Gentilis Broncos are gonna be worlds apart from this year. You will those players come like say once in a decade.
Yeah, yeah. I think they're gonna have a
Should
drop
be
off.
much more competitive this year than the Mountain West.
Yeah, absolutely, indeed. Other questions I've got in here. Who has been the best signing so far in the portal window, and why is it Dylan Tyneman from Paul? Now, obviously, that's a very good one, but are there any other portal acquisitions that come to your mind that you can think of that you're like, yeah, that's an absolute run hit and really good work?
Uh, Try to think of something that's not super obvious.
Because you'd be stuck with ones, I guess, like your big time transfers like Carson Beck and stuff like that. You got to figure that maybe Florida are in here as well. Who would? Oh,
Oh, Kevin Concepcion.
oh, why? Why would you do that? That's just
Because I think he's deserved it. He's earned it. And even you want to see him get like national recognition at the SEC.
yes, I do.
Be big for, like say, be massive for, like say, his draft stock.
Oh, that's just cruel though. To do that, but
Oh,
yeah, I
who you're thinking of Louisville is Miller Moss.
oh yeah, I think potentially Miller Moss is going to be really good. Um. Oh, who else have we got up that's out there?
Uh, Max Clare is ranked very highly. The Purdue tight end that went to Ohio State is
Yeah.
expected to have a monster year next year. He's only a redshirt sophomore.
In terms of other ones, I mean, you already mentioned one, Barry and Brown to LSU.
Barry and Brown and Dane Key went to
Mm,
Nebraska. So the two Kentucky receivers that have left, that, well, we all know the tale of Brock Vandegrift. Like I say, they both should have really big years in their new prospective schools. Like I say, Dylan Raiola is sloppy and chaotic, but he could still put some big numbers there. And Barry and Brown, like I say, elite returner, one of the best returns in the country, and gadget wide receiver with next level speed. Garrett Nussmeier, like I say, him, those two, like I say, could feed families. Those two should make massive names themselves this year.
yeah. Absolutely, they should. Who else could be really good next year? Old Miss got Princely's younger brother, didn't they,
Yeah,
from
Princewell.
Nebraska? So, like, I think Princewell will do well
Yeah.
there. Obviously, you've seen what those lines are like. You've seen Walter Nolan this week, by the way, saying he's the next Aaron Donald. Like, that dude's cocky and he means it coming into this draft cycle. Those are words you don't say lightly because they will be held against you for the rest of your life.
The low key moves, like I say, like Will Helt from Purdue to
Oh, to
Clemson, the 6'6"
Clemson.
passer. I like that move for me. Like I say, he had a good year this year, but like I say, next year, I think he should have a really big year on that defensive line for Clemson.
Like I just said, I wish it would be called Will Hold because
Who
that's
will
just such
be
a
the
perfect
best
name.
transfer quarterback, do we think?
The best transfer quarterback. Oh, I
Will it be
mean,
John Mateo? Will it be Darius Mensah?
Darian Mensah's gone to Duke, right?
Yeah, and we just
So
saw that the quarterback that went to Duke last year, like I say, had a fantastic Malik Murphy had a fantastic year.
yeah.
Like I said, they're kind of built for a transfer quarterback right now. Redshirt freshman. A lot think he's the best portal move for him. Reported they get like
Mm,
$3-4 million as well.
if I'm looking at other ones, obviously, I think Mendoza going to
What do
Indiana's
you think about
good.
Salter to Colorado?
Colorado. That was another one I had in my low-key moves. There's him. So there's two quarterbacks coming to the Big 12 I really want to see this year. Devin Dampier's gone to Utah.
Yeah, he
I
had a
think
great year.
Devin Dampier is going to have a massive season for Utah, and if they get back into Big 12 title consideration, it'll be because of him. Salter can sling it, but are Colorado going to have the weapons because he's losing all his weapons? That's the trouble. Are they going to be able to replenish? Now, you would like to figure they could, but I think a lot of it just depends on Dion right now. It's so hard to predict anything
Yeah. If
Colorado-wise.
he leaves, does he re-enter the portal?
Yeah,
Maybe he
maybe.
does, yeah. Like that's that kind of move in it where you've been sold the dream by someone, could
Hmm.
literally walk away.
Others, like this, some really interesting ones. So. I'm not going to say this because I said he was a Heisman next year, this year, but Connor Weissman has now gone to Houston, and that always is the potential for a big play, explosive offense. He could low-key do really well there. I think the one that I'm maybe most excited about, though, as long as he starts, because I don't think he will, but we say Nussmeier's a potential QB1 at LSU. Michael Van Buren's gone there now from Miss State. Like, I
Interesting
think he
mix
could
that.
be
Yeah.
under threat from him. You would not surprise me if Van Buren could take that job in the off season and really outdo him there. Ash will kill us if we don't mention Castellanos to Florida State as well. I like the fit. They're a team who like to run the ball. He's a dual threat quarterback, and he's got a couple of years left, so he'll establish himself there. I think Castellanos could be very good at Florida State as well.
Mm.
Or
Interesting when I saw John Tay Cook, there's reports out of Washington. He's just not turned up.
no, which is
But
odd.
like I say, yeah, I think he's going to be cut or like I think they're going to be releasing him from the team. Just
Yeah,
transferred there and he's just not arrived apparently or something about that.
no,
Very odd.
indeed. Brent, I have no idea of any coaching changes at Hawaii so far, but we'll look at that. They'll be in our preseason previews, so you'll know who all the coordinators are going in to the
Big
year
one to watch.
there.
The FCS guy, Jordan Dwyer from Idaho. He's gone to
Oh, he's
he's got a
gone to,
TCU and they just
yeah,
had the leading passer in the nation with Josh Hoover.
yeah,
That honestly, that could be he could have an absolute monster season next year. He had a
yeah,
huge year for the Vandals with like 1,200 yards, and we just saw Jack Beck have an absolute monster year in TCU, and I think he's going to go at the draft.
yeah.
So yeah, I think John Dwyer should have a big year for the Horned Frogs. He's definitely going to be one of them low key moves, I think.
Gronowski? If
I mean,
Iowa
technically
changed
by
their
standards
offensive
of previous
coordinator,
Iowa quarterbacks, yes, he should be. He's miles better than Cade McNamara ever was, and
yeah,
Spencer Petras and all the other guys that came before him.
yeah.
It's going to be
So,
weapons.
because Iowa are always in dark horse territory as long as they keep that defense.
Yeah.
All it needs is an average offense, and they in contention for the Big Ten. So I guess you would always put them there as well. So yeah, there are quite a few quarterbacks to look forward to next year. Any other questions that I've missed here? From Paul, he had a lot. Freshman team of the year. Well, in terms of freshmen this year, I guess you start with receivers, right? Christ, how do you even work out the receiver core? You've got Nick Marsh, you've got Jeremiah Smith, you've got Ryan Williams. Like the freshman wide receiver core from this year could probably be an NFL standard unit now.
Yeah, there's some absolute stars. I I'd say Ryan Williams. purely because I just love the splash plays and I just love the swagger and athleticism to him. If you're talking guys that look pro ready and be the best pro, it's probably Jeremiah Smith. He already looks head and shoulders above where he should be as a freshman.
Mm. Absolutely. It is just
But also, yeah,
literally,
Bryant Wesco Jr. from Clemson, another name you'd probably have to mention, had a stellar year for the Tigers.
yeah. In terms of other freshmen, I mean, you put Jordan Seaton there at left tackle. Like he's just had an absolutely monster year for Colorado, and I know he had a little bit of a slow start. I think he had that coming of college game against Nebraska where he looked absolutely awful, but that Nebraska line is just absolutely crazy. I think after that game, he grew up and he didn't get really beaten again that entire season. So I put Jordan
Colin
Seaton in
Simmons would
there.
definitely have to make the team.
Colin Simmons will get in there at linebacker. He's been absolutely tremendous. And I don't know where his best position is yet. When you look at him, he's going to be one of those, like, he's going to be one of those hybrids, right? You get the feel. I know he sort of plays a little bit of outside linebacker type stuff now, but you figure they're just going to move him here, there, and everywhere.
Yeah, I think he's someone like I say that he's got the frame to play in coverage because, like I say, he's got such long limbs and he's comfortable backpedaling. But then he's got the bend, the hips, the speed to get round the outside and finish the quarterback. Someone like say that is going to be very versatile depending on what scheme you want to play, and he's someone that he could eventually be a four down player.
Oh
Just
God,
he
yeah.
just does not need to leave the field if he's got
No,
the stamina for it.
no, he's that good. Right, who you putting at quarterback? Raiola or Lagway? They're both freshmen. They're the ones that immediately come to mind who started right off the bat.
See, he played a lot less, but I can't put Raiola in because I saw him make too many mistakes that cost Nebraska games. I go
But
Lagway.
I
I
guess
think
again,
Lagway's
he's
got more
been
potential.
Lagway he did have the benefit of sitting behind Mertz though. Raiola kind of just got
Yeah.
thrown in there. They've got nobody else in Nebraska. Oh, so you got to put Lagway in. I mean, just putting an outside one in there, and I know this is a bit Homer, but CJ Bailey at NC State looks the real deal. He had to come in because Grayson McCall is now finished. And really good for him that he's gone into coaching right away. He's gone back to Coastal Cal now as a grad assistant. You will see
I'm
Grayson
guessing
McCall.
Levitt don't count as a red shirt freshman.
I mean, we can put it in there. Like red shirt freshman, it's their first year playing football. I think that could be allowed. So if you're doing that, then obviously Sam Levitt gets in there. But I think CJ Bailey might do it next year. In terms of running backs, so the Louisville running back was a freshman, was it? Isaac Brown? He is a freshman. He
Fluff Bothwell.
Fluff Buffwell, yeah. That's another wide
He was a
receiver.
true freshman. Like I say, he just got a big time power four move as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I'd have Jordan Seaton in there. The Notre Dame left tackle was a freshman.
Yeah.
Nap. He's looked really good,
Anthony
although he was
Napa.
hurt. Anthony
Well, yeah,
Knapp,
yeah.
yeah. So I put him in my freshman team of the year because they lost their left tackle starter, and I cannot remember his name for the life of me, but they lost him just before the season. Knapp was not meant to play this year, and they're in the Natty, so it kind of just shows you what a season he's had there. Um, Tight ends, I can't think of any tight ends off the hop of me, so you'll have to forgive me for that.
I don't know any freshman tight ends, I don't think.
In terms of defense, who would you have in there?
Running back as well,
Who
Caden
was?
Durham. That's who I was thinking of at
Oh
LSU.
yeah, yeah.
He was a star.
Who was the running mate to the to Kennard at South Carolina? He's a freshman. I know Cal Kennard's coming to the draft. Or what is his name? Dylan Stewart, I think it is. He looks
Yeah,
amazing. I've been watching that line more. Obviously, he's had Kennard on the other side, but he would be in a freshman team this year. Others on defense, KJ Bolden for Georgia. He's just going to be the next great DB that comes out of there. He was literally a starter day one as a high five-star prospect there. Um, oh, the we're talking safeties. The Minnesota safety's a freshman, isn't he?
Coy
Coy.
Parrish, yeah.
Coy, like I love to call him Coy Carp.
Had
Coy Perich.
five picks, and he was also a special teams returner.
Yeah, so Chloe Perich will be on a freshman team of the year as well. So I think you've got a pretty good team, Ross, out there out of some of the newbies. I'm not doing kickers and that because I've absolutely no idea. But I think that's a pretty decent team of freshmen for this year. You win some games with those and sprinkle some guys in around them. So that is that in terms of freshmen there. Brent goes, so what's the ceiling and the floor for the new QB sensation of the Wolverines as a freshman? Oh, right. So if they put him right in the door next year, Bryce Underwood, what is his ceiling and what is his floor? I mean, is
I mean, the floor's low.
Michigan will get to bowl contention whether he's good or not. Like they reached 9 wins this year with the dross they had on this roster. I think the floor is 7 or 8 wins with him if he doesn't do too well. I think the ceiling, I mean, he's a dual threat, right? He can do it with his legs, can do it with his arms. Depends on the pass catching situation. Obviously, no Colston Loveland there anymore, who they need to replace. Running backs, I'm not worried. They've got that young white guy there, haven't they? Is it Simmons?
Yeah.
Simons or something like that. Like they said, he's like heir incarnate to whoever's there next. Um, the offensive line trenches, you always expect them to do well. Like they draft very well. They've got some good portal additions as well. I do like what they've done. I'd say between 7 and 10 wins. I think that's his floor, and I think it's close because I think that Michigan team relies that much on the ground game that it lowers their heightens their floor. I don't think the world will fall out from underneath them. You
No,
reckon
I
that?
think they need to, yeah, Michigan fans should probably temper expectations. Yeah. 6 games will probably be the floor. Scrape ball eligibility. There will be games where, I mean, let's be honest, there's probably going to be times where he's pulled out, maybe even benched for Mikey Keene. And that's natural. I'd be surprised if he did play every snap or if he played nearly every game of the season. That would surprise me. Yeah, 8.5, 9 wins, probably the ceiling. And that's, yeah, I know a lot of people probably wouldn't be happy with that, but you got to look at the bigger picture, really. He may be the number one player in the nation, ranked by, like, say, all the major on three and 24/7 sports, but that doesn't, that won't translate straight away. How many players have come in as like the best player in the entire nation at high school and
Yeah.
have come away and straight away just dominated and picked up where they left off?
I
It doesn't
mean,
work like that usually.
no, I mean, you look at the schedule. I mean, first off, well done. They're playing Oklahoma away, so they've actually got some non-con opposition this year. But at Nebraska versus Wisconsin, at USC versus Washington,
It's a
at Michigan
gauntlet, I must say.
State versus Purdue, sorry, at Northwestern, at Maryland. That's a cakewalk, potentially. I mean, your away games are Nebraska, USC, Michigan State, Northwestern, and Maryland. How many of those do you really? I, there's no team there that can beat them, really, unless Nebraska start off on a hot one. Then at home, you've got Wisconsin, Washington, Purdue, and Ohio State. I mean, actually, I might revise my figures now. I might say 8 is the floor and 11 is the ceiling. I think that's an easy schedule. Um, so yeah, actually,
Yeah,
I think they're going
it's
to
a
do
tough
quite well
start,
next
but like I
year.
say, if he gets through the start unscathed, he should power on to the end of
Yeah,
the
get
year.
through that Nebraska game. If you can survive that Nebraska D line, then and it might not even be that good because their DT's gone to Florida State. So I think the stars have aligned for him next year. You're avoiding Oregon, you're avoiding Penn State, although I don't know if avoiding's the question. You're not playing Indiana. That's actually a very favorable schedule for Michigan. I think that's it in terms of questions we've had for now. As like we said, we're on an open forum this evening, so just give us any questions you've got, and we'll go in that direction and yeah, do that because we really have a great deal else in there. Let's talk draft now for a little bit because I did have this fun game potentially that we can do for a little bit because obviously we're into draft season now. We're going to talk about prospects and that, but now the draft board has been finalized for the top half of this. I want to theoretically have a little look at what we could potentially do if we were going to play GM for the day with the respective teams and where they're at and what they think we might do. And these are very early predictions, but we got 4 months to the draft or 3.5 months to the draft at the minute. It's going to be a long time, so we can do some early predictions and then maybe come back to them and see where we're at. So, and please, everybody else if in the chat along if you've got any ideas about what you think these teams might do, etc., then let's have them. But we can just start from the top here. And obviously the first pick in the draft this year is going to Tennessee. They finished 3-14, finished on a 6-game losing streak. And it's going to be very interesting for them. Obviously, they're in a search at the minute for GM and head coach. Or are they still in a head coach search? They're searching for a GM. Are they searching for a head coach? Yeah, they're searching for both. So obviously we don't know
No, wait,
who
no,
yet,
they
but...
didn't let. No, they didn't let him go.
Oh no, they've kept him, haven't they? Yeah, that's fine. I thought so. So you've got a new GM coming in the building. Obviously, Carthen's gone, but first overall pick in the draft this year. This Tennessee team, obviously, in need of a quarterback potentially. I don't know if you're them going into this draft as it is now, because I've seen a lot of people, and I think is it Matt Miller who's the ESPN guy. He's a big Titans fan and I've seen bits from him and a lot of people saying they might actually not, they might trade it and they might, because
They
there's
should.
a lot of holes on that roster that you can potentially fill in. And for a new GM, you don't want to hook yourself. For me, I wouldn't hook myself on a quarterback as soon as I got there because some GMs, like the last one, you might only get one quarterback to work with. And if you fire your cannon on that one a bit too early, as soon as you come in the building, pick a guy and he doesn't work, you may not get the chance to draft another one after that. But you're looking at Tennessee in this draft. As GM, what would you do with this pick? If you're going to pick up one, who would you pick? And if you're not, would you trade it? Why? How are you feeling about Tennessee and what they might do?
Definitely don't pick. They've got us met. For me, it's worst roster in the league. It's aging. It lacks talent at all the positions that's required. Their defensive line is the best bit, and I think that's probably going to be a part. Landry, guys like that, Jeffrey Simmons, request some trades, man. They will be granted them because they need the capital. Once they start going, it's fine. They've got a lot more issues than quarterback. Yeah, it does not make any sense to pick them here. For me, if I'm looking at a team that wants number one, it's the Giants. So I think, yeah, Tennessee should do everything they can to trade out of this pick.
So you're having them trade out. I would agree. I think if you're a new GM coming into the
I
building,
don't think
you
the number
don't.
one this year is that valuable because a lot of the quarterbacks have issues, but you're still going to get something.
I think it's valuable, but not for quarterbacks. That's my hot takey bit here to start this. I think there is number one talent in this draft, but not quarterbacks. But I'm with you. If I'm Tennessee looking at this, I'm trading out. If I'm a new GM, I'm going to get some draft capital. I'm going to, I'll still get a stud. Probably not going to go far. I'll still get one of the top defensive prospects, maybe something like that,
I
and
have
then
the
work my
Giants
way
at one,
through.
and they take Shador Sanders.
Oh, well, hot take. There we go then. So, I mean, obviously we can go down to them. So they are tankathon wise,
They've
they
just
are
had one of the best
third.
receivers in the nation. Like I said, they've let Daniel Jones walk for nothing. We know Tommy DeVito ain't the guy. I mean, he's fun, he's likable, but the guy ain't it, is he?
So you've got them lumping, going up to one and getting
Yeah. I
Shador.
don't think it'll be that expensive this year.
Okay. I mean, it depends. If you're coming up from there, it'll not be as expensive. But I still think you might eke a first round pick out of it, but not a lot more than that. But okay, okay. So Cleveland. Cleveland are sat here at number two. They're the number two pick in the draft. They're 3-14 as well. Lost six. Deshaun Watson not playing next year because he's torn his Achilles again. I mean, this does feel like prime territory where, I mean, Stefanski's still there. He needs to start winning soon. This regime needs to start winning soon. I mean, all signs point to this being a quarterback, but if you're GM, what do you do in spot two
This is so
for
hard because it
the
all depends on
Browns?
Miles Garrett, doesn't it? What's Garrett doing? If Gar if I'm Garrett, I let them know early that I want to trade because I know they'll grant me it because they need the capital. They've restructured the contract, like you say, but I'm pretty sure like you say, Deshaun Watson won't play next year, but he's still going to cost them what, $60 million?
Something.
Either way, yeah, it's something like that, and like they can't get out of it. So for me here, it's got to be Cam Ward. Obviously, you've got quarterbacks on the roster, but like I say, you've got to think about life after Watson as if he's not even there. And don't get me wrong, if Myles Garrett decided to jump before the draft, you take Abdul Carter. It's obvious. But while Garrett's there and he's maybe and ahhing, I probably address the win now position.
All right. I think this is tough as well. I mean, I think you need to
It's a team
go.
that's just had a lot of success and then suddenly they find themselves in no man's land. And I'm not sure what the issue is.
No, it is tough. I mean, if Miles Garrett stays, you know, would you go and get Abdul Carter and say, right, we're just going to go and try and kill everybody next year
Could
and
do,
do
yeah.
it this way?
They just
And
let one Za'Darius Smith walk. They could replace him with another guy that can keep contain on the outside as well.
I know
It
if you
makes
bring,
sense.
yeah, you bring in someone like Desmond Ridder to do your QB in or something, somebody as a stopgap potentially and do it the defensive way. Um, Again, I think two feels like it's too high for the quarterbacks.
I
That's the
mean, they
problem.
spent a lot of money, but Sam Darnold,
Yeah.
there's going to be this big name free agent quarterback's going to be out there, isn't there? Kirk
Well,
Cousins, we've rumored that Cleveland have got loads of interest, and if he is cut, they can get him for nothing if his contract is voided. So, yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe they don't need to go. I think Kirk Cousins actually to Cleveland makes a lot of sense.
yeah,
He's not in a
potentially.
position to ask for hardly no money.
No. Give him a vet min deal and say, right, go out there and maybe get
He
one last
could do
payday.
another Joe Flacco and could have another stellar year.
Yeah. Well, I actually quite like that idea. If I'm the Browns, I'm very reticent to take a quarterback here because I'm just not sure. And I don't want Cam Ward going there. I love Cam Ward doesn't suit their style of play for one. Like Cam Ward has played in a lot of air raid in his career. He needs to be in more of a pass happy offense. The Browns love to run the ball. So I kind of want someone who's going to throw it a little bit more for Cam, but we'll see with them. So obviously you said the Giants at three. So if it's Giants, it's just quarterback all the way, no matter where they
Yeah.
pick. If there was a guy here still on and someone's picked a defensive guy, you go with the quarterback. I agree. They've got to stay pat here. They need to get a signal caller because just use free agency to fill your other voids. Go and get your quarterback though. You're in no man's land, and Dayball needs to win. Patriots at 4 and 13. This is Mike Vrabel. I feel for me, early on, I feel like I can predict this pick now. And I think this is where Mason Graham goes. Because they've got their quarterback. Mike Vrabel is going to want to build the mother of all defenses in New England and take them back to what they were before. And to do that, you've got to start on your defensive line and you've got to take the best defensive player in the draft, which, if it ain't Carter, Mason Graham strikes me more as a Mike Vrabel player. I feel very comfortable predicting this now, but do you disagree?
See, I think Jared Mayo would have taken Travis Hunter. He makes perfect sense. But I don't think Travis Hunter's a Vrabel guy. But unless you move him a corner, and if he's going to play corner, I think Vrabel still takes him. This is the thing about changing a head coach. Probably going a totally different scenario. They
Yeah.
do need a receiver though as well, because that receiving core,
Dane
it's not good.
Dane Brugler had Tet at 4 today.
Yeah.
And
Well, I've got a perfect team for McMillan.
okay, fair. I'm
New England's
99%
very
sure.
difficult.
I am 99% sure this is a defensive player, and I'm 80% sure it's Mason Graham. I just think he is a legitimate game changer for your defensive line. That's the first thing Vrabel's going to want to do, unless they get someone in free agency. So that is absolutely what I have them doing there. Jacksonville at number 5, 4 and
This
13.
seems quite straightforward.
Oh really? Okay.
Yeah, Lawrence gets pelted every week. You take an offensive tackle. Obviously, they've
Hmm.
paid Walker Little this year, didn't they? He's a
Yeah,
right tackle, isn't he?
traditionally, but he's been
Yeah.
playing left, I think, a bit.
Get Kellen Banks. Give
Yeah.
him a start and left tackle. For me, like you say, sacks and offensive line play in Jacksonville have been too bad for too long.
So that you're just sticking pat going
Yeah,
offensive line, protecting Trevor.
I'm gonna just strengthen the trenches if you believe in Trevor Lawrence.
I do agree. They've not invested enough into that position, so you've got to go and get someone because next year is the year for Lawrence, right? You kind of give him
Yeah.
next year, and if he's still not going, that's when you
He's just
start
got that
having,
big contract. Like say he's had the
yeah,
bad injury this year. Next year, like say it's
that's
next
where
year.
the
You think
discussions
about
happen.
next year if it don't go well, they're gonna get trade offers for him.
Yeah, absolutely. So Jacksonville there at 5. We both think they're going to go offensive and they should stay there. Vegas at 6. Now, this is going to be interesting. Right now, we don't know who the head coach is going to be. So maybe let's assume this is Ben who gets this job.
Yeah, I'm gonna say this is
And
Ben Johnson's job right now.
so we're going to assume Ben Johnson has this job at 6. He's going to have a new GM there as well. Obviously, Tom Brady's pulling the strings. He wants this team to win. I mean, what do the Raiders do here at this point in
Six
terms
is no
of
man's land.
I mean, what do you do as a GM here at 6? Do you sort of go, right, I'm going to be a little bit aggressive and I'm going to try and move up and I'm going to get a quarterback, or are you going to move back and try and get more picks? This is interesting. If you're GM of the Raiders, what do you do with this pick this year? That's what this is.
Has Aidan O'Connell shown enough to get the job again this year?
Ugh.
He's shown
You've
he's shown a lot of flashes.
you've got to invest in your
He's also
offensive.
had
That's one
injuries.
way you can
Yeah.
invest in your offensive line because he gets pressured a lot.
Yeah, he's had a
I,
lot of injuries because he's got hit a lot. They've hung him out
yeah.
there to dry. And we know Gardner Minshew ain't it. It's Aidan O'Connell or it's a new guy.
Is Ridder still there?
He's there as QB3, yeah. I think
Because
all
I
three
still
played for
think
you.
there's an NFL QB in Ritter as well.
So
This is one way
if we
you
assume that
can
Ben
go.
thinks he can fix Aidan O'Connell, which I think he probably thinks he could, then here, yeah, you go O-line or a weapon.
Oh, okay. They're really intriguing to me at this point.
Yeah. Six
I
is
feel
like I
like
say,
this
if
is
they
the
want a quarterback, they're gonna have to move heaven and earth to move into the top two or three.
I feel like this is the first pressure point for a team trading up.
Does
That's where I
Ben
feel, and that's
Johnson
what
want
I
a rookie
do.
quarterback?
Nah, this is again, you don't want to tie yourself to one in the first year because you might not get a second one. In 3 years' time, if he has to give up on a guy, he might not get 3 years in Vegas to do his job.
Exactly.
So I
But
think
like I
you've
said,
got to have a year.
Tom Brady's gonna want a rookie quarterback, I
Yeah,
think.
it is. It's really intriguing to see what they're potentially gonna do.
To be fair though, I got it wrong last year. I thought Brock Bowers was a dreadful pick because
Yeah,
they took Michael Mayer the year before. And I was
yeah.
thinking, what the fuck are you doing? Michael Mayer
See,
this year was an absolute nobody.
that Michael Mayer pick now looks awful
Yeah.
from 2 years ago. That now looks like the awful pick, not
He
Bowers. The
didn't get
Mayer one does.
he saw literally a minuscule percentage of targets this year. Very unfair on him.
They need to try and move him to receiver or something. You've got to invest in him. He's two
Yeah.
years into his career. You've got to do something with him. The 7 is the Jets. Now, what on earth do the Jets do this year? Let me just get the NFL draft value chart up. Ah, this is really difficult to what you do with the Jets.
The Jets are going to be super busy. Like I think for one, I think Garrett Wilson's probably traded away. I think he asks for a trade.
Do you reckon they allow it though?
I think he might hold out. I think he's the kind of guy that might sit.
So the Jets this year, they've got their first 4 picks. They've got 2 5ths and 3 6ths. So you've got a lot of day 3 picks now. You're not short of
That's
draft
not great, is
picks,
it? So
but you've
we
not got a lot
assume
of
Aaron
big
Rodgers
ones.
retires.
Yeah. Do you go the veteran route? I mean, you feel like that. How funny would it be if Darnold went back? Again, I don't know what you do with them. There's a lot of areas you need work. Your defense needs work. Your offense needs work. Your
Your
line
offensive
needs
line, like I
work.
say, your offensive line has struggled no end.
Are you going to go with a rookie quarterback again? I mean, you invested in Jordan
Yeah.
Travis last year. But you've not got really anything else. You got Tyrod Taylor.
Yeah, it feels like they'd probably go veteran route here.
So what do you do as GM if you're Jets in this draft at that spot?
So, is there anybody worth moving up for?
It depends what you want to pick.
Yeah, I looking at the teams behind them. I don't see anyone wanting to move
Are
it.
you potentially in the Cam Ward states if he slips a little bit to 4 or 5?
I
That
am
would be
because
the
if
question.
you draft Cam Ward to the Jets, there's no actual indicator he even starts. As you say, you can get Darnold, you can get Kirk Cousins, you can
Yeah.
get let's say a Marcus Mariota or a Desmond Ridder if he's cut. I think the Jets do not trot out a rookie QB next year.
No, no,
You'd be
absolutely not.
throwing the kid to the wolves.
Yeah. Okay, so fine, Jets. Yeah, I think you've. Ugh, it depends. And if the Garrett Wilson stuff happens, you need a new receiver. So, maybe you look at Tet. I don't know. But maybe you'll get some good picks for Garrett. Number 8, Carolina. Carolina
This is
are
the
the
one that for me that's pretty. I think this is
darlings.
easy.
Are you giving them Tet?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Xavier Legetta has shown flashes. I love him. Not a wide receiver one. How old is
Thielen.
how old is Adam Thielen? Isn't he 35?
34, 34.
34,
He's getting
35, yeah.
on.
Yeah. If you believe in Bryce Ward here, go get him a
Pressure.
wide receiver one.
Jalen
Give
Coker?
him McMillan. I think he would.
Mind you,
I think
I
it'd be a
think
great fit.
I think Jalen Coker would then be able to be wide receiver two, a very
Yeah.
good
You
one.
can put them two on the outside, both 6'4", stretch the field.
I'm with you.
Legetta in the slot or as a gadget.
Yeah. Bryce Young has now shown you enough that you invest in him.
Yeah. So you get him some
You
weapons.
invest heavily in him. I mean, you certainly get him a running back as well with your second pick. I think you go after one of the more highly talented running
Yeah.
backs in this draft as well.
Because let's say
Um,
obviously they've just paid Chuba Hubbard, so they can't get Ashton Genty. They've still got
no,
Miles Sanders on the books, so they can't. That would be negligence.
no.
Even though I think it'd be very fun.
Yeah, you want a second guy in there for
Yeah.
sure. Like you want to invest, but invest in Bryce this year. If you need to protect him a bit, well, maybe go in free agency, get some good O-line, something like that. But yeah, I'm with you. I'll give them a weapon. That is what I would do as of them right now. Number 9. Oh God, you've got the Saints next. What on earth did the
Yeah, okay,
Saints
this is one
do?
of the worst
The
rosters in the league.
Saints, because of Mickey Loomis, are in cap hell. You've got Derek Carr, who's refusing to take a pay cut. You've got Spencer Rattler, who may or may not be the guy there, but you've got
Got Taysom
holes.
Hill that is probably going to have to retire.
Yeah, you've got Ryan Ramchick, who is also about to imminently retire because his knee is done forever. Now, you got Talise Fuanga last year, but you need another tackle because what's his face bust on the left tackle side's been no good.
Yeah. Marshawn
Um,
Lattimore's gone.
yeah. Um,
Alvin Kamara is still good, but he's in
he's
his
getting
early
older,
30s.
and
Injuries are
and
piling
and
up.
the tread is there. Like this feels like the one
Jesus.
where,
Uh,
and I'm not sure because of everything that goes on with them. Let me just check where they're at this year in terms of their picks, because I know they're never always in the healthiest position with them. They're not too bad. So they've got 9, 40, 71, and 91. So you got 4 top 100 picks there to start fixing this. But
this is one of them
where do you
teams, no matter
fix
which rookie you
first?
pick, it doesn't make them any better.
Hmm.
Nobody makes an impact to me on this roster, really. An
No.
immediate impact.
But where do you start fixing it? And do you stay at 9 or do you go and get even more picks?
I think for me, if I'm going to be looking at them from, I think you start with the trenches.
Yeah, you've got to get another tackle, right?
Yeah.
You've
Like I
got
said, the knee
Fuanga
injury,
last year.
Ramchick is probably going to said like he may have to retire with the bad knee.
They've just restructured his deal so that he can. They've restructured it for next year so it spreads his
Yeah.
cap hit out. But they've said he's basically going to retire,
I
which is
think
such a
yeah.
shame.
Oh wait, Will Campbell, LSU.
Yeah, yeah,
This is
potentially.
that fits like a glove, doesn't it? Really.
Yeah, local bad. I mean, both LSU tackles are first round potential heavy, depending
Yeah.
on how the other one
So for
does.
me,
But
yeah, I give him the local tackle. You just write next year off as a bad year, and you get the offensive line. Fuanga has a better second year. Will Campbell learns. Worry
what do you
about the
do at
quarterback later.
quarterback? Do you just give Rattler next year and say, Derek, screw you, because you're
I'm
not taking
quite.
a pay cut, or
I'm tempted. Yeah, I think they believe in Rattler,
Hmm,
but
yeah,
also it depends. Like I say, another one where no head coach, and I thought Aaron Glenn was a shoo-in, but apparently he's all for the Jets, maybe. So who the hell
see.
wants the New Orleans job?
See, if Aaron Glenn gets it in New Orleans, you can basically that. Well, I'm not say would it be a defensive pick? I don't know what he'd do,
I still
but
think he goes a trench
you've
fan.
got to protect your line. You've got to do that. And Ramchick's gone. You've got a massive hole. Get one of the best tackles, and then with Fuanga, whoever you draft, your tackles are set for some time then, and you don't have to worry about it. 10. We got the Bears. Um, I mean, this has surely got to be offensive line, right? This is
Yeah.
gross negligence
How many
if
times
you
did Caleb get
don't.
sacked? Was it 60?
I'm pretty sure he hit the 70s in the end, or he's near. He's close. This feels like the easiest one of the easiest ones other than the New
Yeah.
England pick. This
They've
has got
got
to be
weapons.
O-line.
They've got loads of weapons. I'll give them that. They don't
Yeah.
need weapons there. Here you go two ways. For me, they need to accept, I think, DeAndre Swift at 23 years, 24 million was a miss.
Yeah.
Here, you take Ashton Jonty or you take an offensive tackle.
Think if you got running back, it's negligence towards Caleb if you don't give him some. I mean, you've got to protect him, and you can pay people, but they paid the right guard who cost them 30 million and did nothing for them. You've got picks at 39 and 41, so you
I
go get
suppose
yourself a
there,
running
yeah,
back
you
there.
probably get a
Get
guy
yourself a
like
running back there.
a Giddens or
Yeah,
a Scat or something like that, yeah.
two O
So,
line and a running back in those first three picks. That's what I'd do if I was them.
yeah, I
Yeah,
suppose, yeah, you're just going to have to. For me, I suppose, yeah, you keep Darnell right there. Do you replace one of the guards?
maybe. I may be too high for the best guards in this draft, though. I don't think there's going to be any guards up that high unless you're switching somebody in. Um, so yeah, potentially what we're doing there. We'll do a couple more because obviously we'll do the draft predictions for players and that near the time. I'm just interested as to what you might do. 11, the 49ers are sitting at 11 now. This is another sitch, an aging roster. And the fact that they've got like 7 or 8 star players who are all getting old, they've got a top heavy roster. They need to redo this all manner of places. You're sat at 11. Obviously, you're probably going to pay Brock Purdy.
Yeah, so
I
Purdy
don't know
gets
whether they
50.
should or not,
Yeah, Purdy's
but
going to get 50 plus million.
yeah. So you've got 2 third round picks, you've got your seconds, you've got your first, you've got 2 fourths. So you've got got a good plethora. You've got four, what, 1, 2, 3, 4. You got 5 picks in the top 112. So you're not like out here, but this feels like you need to get a lot of young talent in here quick because your roster's aging and you're
Yeah.
starting to fall away from contention.
See here, I look at
But
the
who?
defense because I think Javon Hargrave's leaving, and who's the star linebacker? Uh,
Oh,
D.
Dre Greenlaw.
Dre Greenlaw. Apparently, they may struggle to pay him, but they want him back badly. So I think this is going to be a defensive pick.
I do. I would say D tackle. They've struggled without Hargrave this year. Like that middle, and we said it when we played them, too easy to run on the middle of them. Generally, in years gone past, they let the guy go to was it the Jags? They let their star DT go to.
Yeah,
Um,
Armstead. He
no,
went to Jaguars, yeah.
Eric Armstead. Sorry,
Yeah, he
yeah.
went to Armstead. Yeah, he went to Jags.
So yeah, I'm definitely rebooting up my line there
For
for
me
them.
here, I'm giving them a linebacker or a DT.
Yeah, somebody who's just going to strengthen up the core of that run defense. But I'm not moving. You need to get some more good, you need to get good young players on there because that's where they're going to struggle going forward is that cap sitch. We'll do up to 15 and then we're done. 12 is Dallas.
Oh, yeah, we know who they're taking.
Are you still think oh, really Giante really?
Yeah,
It, it's a Jerry
and
Jones pick, right?
Rico Dowdle he ain't cutting the mustard. Tony Pollard's gone. Zeke went, came back, has
But
now gone
Rico
again.
Dowdle's been really good. Do you say that? Because to foster a healthy culture, if you tell Dowdle now you're done, but I guess it's a Jerry pick, isn't it? Right, Flash.
Yeah, it's a Jerry kind of pick. Like I said, where's the other areas of need? I suppose again, isn't the O line really old?
Yeah, it's not good.
Who's the tackle? They just lost to the Jets.
Tyron Smith.
Have they replaced him? Really? Don't feel
Yeah,
like it.
you got the guard from the FCS who's been struggling.
Yeah.
I can never remember his name, but
Mm.
you're right, could be that. But if
Then
it's
you look at
Giante,
corner.
I think it's gross negligence. I just think you can't. I think you've got to again. You've got to look at maybe protecting Dak there or running the ball better. If you can't run the ball, if you ain't got an offensive line. San Francisco showed anyone can go behind their O line and run. Isaac Guerrero looks like a star. No one pegged him in as a starter this year. Yeah, you've got to do it that way. Marmarker goes, I wonder if Ben Johnson goes to the Jags, who will he want to pick? I mean, we've been through the Jags already, but I guess that's interesting if he goes there because he's got his quarterback right. But how would Ben construct his roster? I bet that would be the more intriguing question. How would Ben construct his roster, do you reckon? Do you
Well,
reckon he'd do it like Dan?
he wants to call the plays, doesn't he? So for me, no, I think he needs someone that can. He needs
He needs
guys that can.
playmakers.
He needs playmakers. He needs guys capable of executing trick plays.
But I mean, you've got Brian Thomas there,
Yeah.
which is a great start. So you
Does
don't
he
really go
want Travis
receiver
Hunter?
again. I mean, you need a run, or do you stick with Tank as your running back? Because Tank's not really a Ben Johnson style running back, really, is he?
No. And to be
But I love
honest,
what Tank's
yeah,
done there.
Etienne as well for me has been. I think he's been really. I think he's been disappointing. The numbers won't tell you that, but I've just not been enamored with him.
I think to work Ben's system, you need a good offensive line, right? Like you've got guys who
Yeah,
need
because they've
to
got to be able to get
pull
to the
and
second level and
yeah,
block
they need
on
to pull
screens
and
and that.
block and get on screens. You need very
They can't
versatile
do that.
linemen. So I would figure anyhow that Ben would go after the line
He
first
wants a
there.
mobile offensive lineman.
Yeah, you want the quickest route to being able to implement his offensive scheme. And that would have to be it. And again, you need a tackle there. So I think they'd stay pat at offensive line if Ben went there. You've got your star playmaker. I think they'd use him a ton. Um, he also says Aaron to the if Aaron went to the Saints, who would he be? Again, I think Aaron would want defensive players,
I
but I
think
think
Aaron
the
had won. Yeah,
brass
he'd want to build his defense.
would Aaron want Travis? I mean, he's
They
probably
do.
not going to be there, but
They
would
do
Aaron
need
be
a
like?
corner.
Would Aaron
Yeah,
be like?
I think they would. We've shown the fact is, like I say, that he's got a rookie corner right now playing what the most man coverage in the league,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
he did struggle a lot early. He's come on along. He probably would ask Travis Hunter to do the same thing. I could see him taking Travis Hunter, yeah, and
If he's
telling
still
him,
there,
"You're a corner.
yeah,
You're not playing receiver. We're drafting you to play a corner, not
yeah.
giving him the choice."
No, I think Aaron would do that. I think he would go defensively even though he needed a tackle. That's what Aaron would do there. Where were we on Texon here?
Miami.
We'll go to 15. So Miami at 13. I mean,
I don't.
I,
This is difficult.
I just think Miami's a bad roster. But Miami bought in a load of vets, paid a load of money for them, and it's not worked. Now they're in a bit of bother. I mean, you've got some good stuff. You've got Jalen Waddle, you've got Devin A-Chain. They're your playmakers. You're sorted. Tua's gonna be your quarterback to start now. You're sorted. Again, do you look at offensive line and say,
Oh,
you need to
Will
do that?
Johnson,
Or
because
Will
it
John?
doesn't what's his face?
Oh shit, yeah, Will John. Why didn't I think of that? Will
Isn't
Johnson
what's his
to
face throwing a Jalen Ramsey's throwing a paddy again, isn't he?
yeah, yeah,
Right,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Screw it. Get rid of Jalen Ramsey. Will
Will,
Johnson.
yeah, Will Johnson, absolutely. He'll probably not be there at this point, but that's where I go. I think you have to go corner somewhere like that for them. I think, but they've got a lot of holes. So again, not sure. Indy at 14. Indy, they've got receivers. They've got a good line. I think this would be defensive again. I think you have to be defensive. I think their offense is good enough. That's what I'd do with GM. I'd go defensive.
I think I would like to say, yeah, they've got wide receivers. They've got Jonathan Taylor back at his best. Question mark is quarterback, but it's too late to address that now.
Yeah, yeah. I think you've got to ride with him. You've got to give him an opportunity. Another one, you've got to give him an opportunity to succeed, but you need a good defense to keep the score down, give him opportunity in games. I do that. I do the same with Atlanta at 15, where we'll finish. Penix is quarterback there. He's got a ton of talent to aim at. He's got a great dual threat running back room. Line's not that bad. Again, you feel like the defense is the problem where they need a proper edge rusher,
Jalen Walker,
someone
Georgia
like
to
that.
Atlanta.
Yeah, someone like that.
Because
Or
who did they trade for? And
or
it's
what's
really
his
not
face?
panned
Mikael
out.
Mikael Williams.
Yeah. Who
Mikael
did they,
Williams could
they
be one.
traded for someone, didn't they?
I can't remember.
From the Patriots.
Oh, not Uche. Was it Uche? Does Uche
No,
go
it's the
there?
other one, the older one.
Oh, I thought Uche was the old one. Oh, Judon.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
that didn't
apparently,
work.
though, I think they're not on good terms already.
Oh,
I
okay.
think a lot of accused him of downing tools.
Yeah. Yeah, Brent. It'll be a trench draft for India, I reckon.
Yeah. So, yeah, give him a Georgia player. The
Yeah.
Falcons love to take players in state.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll kind of leave that there. I was just interested to see again because a lot of the draft for the last 8 teams, anyhow, the orders are not there, but some initial maybe thoughts of where we go. But of course, trades will happen, new head coaches will be hired, a free agency is to come, which changes draft profile. So you can't do these things accurately till
Yeah, we didn't do
quite a
bad.
lot
I'm
closer
reading
to
the
the time
Athletic,
there.
Dane Brugel's report today. We've pretty much got all the same top 10, 11 players, just in different order.
Oh, have we?
Yep.
Oh, okay. In that case,
The only guys we didn't name were Simmons and Malachi Starks.
a safety that high.
Yeah.
Ooh.
They have
Ooh.
him, they've got him to the Saints, which would make sense if Aaron
Ooh.
Glenn went there. I
Yeah,
could see
big
Starks. He will need a
DB.
say. Jesse Bates and Malachi Starks. That's got Branch and Kirby Joseph all over it, really.
Yeah. No, I can see that. I can absolutely see that. So we're thinking like Dane Brugler. That's not bad. And I've not got his list up. I'm not cheating. We're just those are our initial thoughts there. As I say, we'll do all the mocks close to the time and that when we know what's going on and the pre-draft process
Let's see
is
who
over.
let's see who the Lions get. Uh,
Oh, I'm pretty sure he had us taking Nick Scoutt. Was that the
yeah,
Scourton draft?
We have Nick Scourton at 32, so
That's a
he predicts
steal.
who win the Super Bowl and get Nick Scourton.
Nick Scourton would be an absolute steal for the Lions at 32. He's out the same system as George Karlaftis, and we pounded the table for George Karlaftis several years ago. Well, look who's laughing now. He's a two-time Super Bowl winner and one of the best edge rushers in the NFL.
In round
So,
two, Benjamin Morrison
is
from
he
Notre
going to
Dame.
the draft? He's been injured all year, hasn't he?
He has, yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. I'm done with injured players. Benjamin Morrison has barely
One
played
pick
this
before
year.
was Jaden Higgins to the Chiefs.
I like that. I really like that. We'll have to look through some of these mock drafts and see whether we agree. In fact, that could be maybe something for next week. We'll compile a load of mock drafts together and see if we agree or not. I know, by the way, because we did the Hula Bowl review or preview last week, I said we were going to do the review for it this week, but unfortunately, the Hula Bowl have done a piss poor job. First of airing the damn thing, it was meant to be on CBS, and then they didn't tell anybody that it wasn't going to be on CBS, and so there was nowhere to actually watch the damn thing. And then the amount of correspondence that's come out about the game after is tiny. Like, I know the game finished 10-3, and that was it. The Arizona running back got the Krosky Merritt. He got the only touchdown of the game. But I will try and formulate a bigger picture of the Hula Bowl for next week because a lot has not come out. I'm hoping a taping of the game comes out so we can do it proper. But yeah, that's why I've not been able to follow up on the Hula Bowl stuff this week because I want to do a good job with it, and they've just given us nothing. Obviously, Shrine Bowl is up next on the 30th. So we've got 2 episodes left before that. So we will do all the Shrine Bowl bits in there as well. So, man, we've been going a little bit of a while now. So, yeah, we'll invite a final round of questions if anybody has any, and then we will get on out of here for today. I know um, Brent has put one in already. He goes, I agree with Anthony again. Oh, no, that's not a question. That's just a statement of fact. Who's your center to draft and start grooming behind Ragnow? I love Frank, but worried about his foot. Drew Kendall. That is the answer. I found out that Drew Kendall had declared for the draft today. He's the 3-year starting safety for Boston College. And Brent, you listen to the show all the time. He was in my preseason to watch list this year. He gave up 1 sack on the entire season on that really good Boston College offensive line. Obviously, he's played with Christian Mahogany last year as well. They're close teammates, but his dad got drafted in 1996 first round by the Seahawks. Someone like Brent, a veteran, will know Pete Kendall. It's Pete Kendall's son. I'm assuming Brent knows who he is. So yeah, Drew Kendall from Boston College. Go watch the tape on him. 6'4", 300 pounds. He's an absolute beast. And again, coming from one of the schools that technically gets their offensive linemen ready. You've seen how quick Mahogany's taken to the NFL. Kendall will be the same, so that's who I would pick. Is there anyone else you want to throw into that name for backup centers or people you're moving there, right? 'Cause I know it is a
Uh,
little shorter this year.
yeah. This year, no. This year I go rank, and then Frank next year, I draft Josh Slaughter out of Florida.
Yeah, a lot of teams will want to do that. He'll be high value. I don't know. Early thing on him, do you reckon he's threatening day 2 or 1?
If he's threatening day two, then yeah, I'd probably get him and I'd groom him. I think he's the fastest path to probably continuity and starting.
Yeah. Oh, there. Brent also goes, I'm a little ashamed I have to go on across the pond for the best college football podcast. Great show. Hey, Brent, we appreciate you as always. And he's given us a $5 sticker as well. Brent, you are a legend, and we very much appreciate you on here. You've rode with us from day one, and we really very much appreciate having you in the building, as always. So yeah, I think unless anyone's got anything else, let me just go back and quickly check to make sure I've not missed anything this evening, and I need to let Matt know that we're about done. But I think we're it. Du- 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 du. Shrine Ball. No, we'll do the Shrine Ball roster next week. Anything else that's on your mind, college football related this week, right? Hey, what do you make to the Michigan State picked up the Montana State tackle? He was the number one rated
Yeah.
tackle in this draft.
Yeah, I think
Are we?
Michigan, Ohio State, they were all interested in him. Is it Mason? I
Oh, I
can't remember his
can't
last
remember.
name.
But
I know what you mean though,
what?
yeah, the Bobcats tackle, yeah. Like I said, a two-time FCS All-American left tackle. That's a huge pickup for the Spartans.
I mean, are we talking about dark horses next year?
I mean, if you look at
Aiden,
pure
Aiden,
talent,
Aiden Childs is on his
if
second
Childs puts it
year.
together next year and it starts to click for him, then
Jack
you're talking an outside playoff team potentially, yeah.
Jack Veerling, the star tight ends going back. Nick
Yeah.
Marsh has
Nick
stayed,
Marsh.
which I'm really surprised with. But they're picking up some recruits. But they've got the Montana State left tackle this year. That's like he's instant starter on that team, right? And I believe he was the number
Oh
one
yeah.
offensive tackle in this class, and Michigan State have snapped him up. I don't know if they can get that. If they can get that defense going, man, they could
Yeah.
legitimately be a
Offensive
sneaky
side of
good
the
team
ball, I
next
feel
year.
very comfortable about. It's about getting some defensive guys and recruits going, yeah.
Oh God. Could you imagine Michigan having to put up with Ohio State doing well this year and then Michigan State next year? That'd just be ultimate nightmare fuel for them. Any other little bits? I'm waiting for Matt to come in, so we are just really freestyling at the end here at this point. I say, anything else anyone wants to ask? I don't know. Glad we've been able to make a thing out of it though, considering I didn't sort out anything for this evening. Oh, I don't know. I'm at a loss for words. I'm at a rare loss for words. Right, Lang fact. In fact, I can go through all the bits at the end. So obviously, next show's coming up on the podcast. The main Lions podcast is tomorrow. It is Washington Commanders preview day as the Lions begin their playoff campaign in the NFL divisional round. And I don't know about you, Rye, but I'm getting more nervous day by day. It's set in the other day that the Lions season could be over in like 4 days' time. I've never even considered it a possibility, and I don't think we will. I think we'll kick their ass, but theoretically, like this thing could be over in a few days. I'm really nervous.
Uh, I'm not nervous about the game. I'm just nervous about the reaction if we were to lose. That frightens me because Jesus Christ, there will be some hellish,
I don't think,
bloody
yeah, and this is why,
overreaction.
and this is why when Lions fans are getting a bit cocky about it, I'm just like, do you understand the repercussions if we lose? Like, we're back to square one again.
We
We've
will
been
be a
in
laughing
year
stock if we
four, in
lose,
year
and that
four,
pains me.
in year four of a build, you shouldn't be getting bounced by a rebuilding Commanders team in the divisional round. Like you shouldn't be there. And all of a sudden you're back into, like you say, you're back into joke territory again. There's a lot on the line for this game, and I'm getting really, really nervous about it. But anywho, yeah, that episode is going to be tomorrow, so don't forget to join us for that. And we're hoping we have some Commanders content creators with us as well, so we can fire back and forth a little bit. It's always good fun when you get these guys on. In terms of me and Ryan, we will be back next week as always. As mentioned, I'm hoping we can have a more in-depth review about the Hula Bowl and I can find out more information about it. So, you know, pray that happens. And then we will start on the Shrine Bowl as well, because we've got 2 episodes, so we can do an offensive show and a defensive show about the Shrine Bowl, basically. Speaking of which, Max Brosma is going to the Shrine Bowl. That's going to be fun. Looking forward to seeing Max there. And then, of course, when that's all over, it's the Natty review next week as well. And then we'll just go hyper into draft season after that. So, you know, as always, let us know. We'll scout out anyone you want us to, any position groups. We'll start compiling our lists of best players who we believe is good, etc., and we'll get them out of the show. So we're going to have a lot coming up in the near future. We're just in sort of a little bit of a black hole this week between all these games, waiting for them to happen. So yeah, that's in terms of what's coming up. And then obviously, of course, the guys will be live during the Commanders game over the weekend on Saturday as well. So drop in and say hi to them as hopefully we win our 3rd playoff game in 12 months, which will be good fun. Outside of that, you can find us at Roar of the Lions UK. Just type it in. You will find us there. We're getting about all over. We've tomorrow there should be a radio interview re-dropping. We'll be on Michigan radio tomorrow, so keep an eye out for that. I can't remember exactly which radio station it is. I'm sure Matt will drop it in the comments for us, and then you can... There we go. We will be on Michigan Public Radio tomorrow at some stage, chatting with April Bear. So check that one out. But yeah, just remains for me to thank Ryan. Thanks, Mile Marker, Brent, everyone. No lives there. No, me and Ryan are both Northern boys. Yeah, he's Bradford. I'm Chesterfield. We're quite far up north. Ryan is the London. Other Ryan's the London one. He's the proper Cockney. And you can spot him from a mile away. So we love him though. Right. Thanks ever so much, guys. Have a great evening, and we shall see you again next week. One Pride.
Recording stop.